15, so we're going to go ahead in case there's stragglers and make sure give them till 7:15 to get here. Comment, the slips, young lady found them, are at the door there at the back, just so you know. Started, if everyone would please rise. For those of you who can't see, the American flag is right here in this corner, just to my left and front. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. If you have a cell phone, if you would be so kind as to either turn it off or put it on silent, that would be much appreciated. Mrs. Pullen, call the roll.
John Hedges.
Here.
Cheryl Armstrong.
Here.
Heidi Larson.
Here.
Ashley Overton.
Here.
Erica Weaver.
Here.
Jacob Uphoff.
Here.
Dale Ryder.
Here. Item 2 on tonight's agenda, reception of visitors, 2.1A, Lift and MHS Students Acts of Service. Who am I turning this over to? Hey there, how are you? Show's yours.
Would you like us to be?
Yeah, I think you feel, you're leading this off, so you get a set of trend.
Maybe on this side?
Well, thank you for letting us come and present. You want to sit there?
I don't know. Do you want to face the camera? Is that what you want? I was thinking maybe this way. You're fine.
I can see Jessica.
Could the students come right over here?
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you guys just want to angle kind of like I am. So they'll
Perfect.
hear you and they'll hear you. You'll kind of see that slider just right back here. Okay? All right.
So we're here to talk to you a little bit about acts of service that have happened in our first quarter, including Green and Gold Day and the 9/11 stair climb. I don't know where the clicker is. Thank you. Awesome. So the one that I'm personally most passionate about is Green and Gold Day. So we brought some students to talk about that as well. We went to over 18 locations to do some acts of service, anywhere from nursing homes to other schools in our district to daycare facilities. Like, we were all over Mattoon. We had nearly 60 groups engaged in service at the high school alone. Lift had its own numbers as well.
Yeah, so this was our first year. We were really excited that Lyft could expand beyond just Mattoon. And so we charged our students with developing service projects that would extend beyond. So we had 10 locations throughout our region that impacted community as well.
So service is really important to people as individuals, but also communities. It builds bridges between individuals. It also instills a love of service in people. And for many of us, it gives us opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise have had. So a lot of our students have the opportunity to go and serve in their everyday life. And some of our students don't necessarily get those opportunities all the time. So as a high school, as a district, we are providing those opportunities from all the way from our littles all the way up to our bigs. So if you don't mind, you can take it away why service is important.
For me, service was important because I am a teen mom and because I got to go to Riddle with little kids. So I found that really engaging just because I don't get a lot of chances to go and meet other children and because I have my own. And I found it really inspiring to become a teacher and just want to be around little kids.
I think it's important because honestly, I think everyone should try and service their community at least once in their life because it's very helpful to their community and it's honestly very fun. And I went to the food pantry and we snacked and had a bunch of boxes, mailings, and organized and it was really
I think service is really important. It's just a really rewarding experience all around. It makes me feel good, and I hope it makes the communities that I'm helping feel really good. I got the chance to go to Riddle Elementary and just hang out with a bunch of second graders for a day. It's fun for me, it's fun for them, and it really solidified my choice in my career if I'm going to be an elementary school teacher.
I think it is important because it'll impact people's lives that you would have never thought could have even been impacted by anything, especially in smaller communities. They don't get people to come help them very often. It's not very heard of, and it just, the gratitude that you get from the other people is very rewarding.
These are some of our Green and Gold Day values. This year we went as Wave Time and Lift is a little different with theirs, having students build projects from scratch.
So as mentioned, this was the first year that Lyft had been able to take service beyond just the Mattoon area. So our largest population of regional students is during session 1 and 2. And so our Mattoon students that are during session 1 and 2 also don't have a wave time. And so it was a neat opportunity. We had an application for the students and they filled it out. And if they had an idea for a service opportunity, we looked at that and they were in contact with their point person in the other community and what kind of logistics and transportation and field trip permission forms, a lot that went into it. And from there, created a menu that then our over 160 students could select from where they wanted to go serve. And Gage is one of our regional students, so I was gonna let her introduce where she's from, the floor she's on, and the project that she organized.
Okay, so I am from Cumberland, specifically Greenup, and I am on IT floor and leadership floor. I'm enrolled in cybersecurity and an executive. And my mom is a bus driver, and most bus drivers in our community, and probably other communities too, if I had to guess, work 2 jobs, and especially during the summertime. So they don't have the time to go clean their buses or really like maintain that aspect of things as they go from driving in the morning to a second job, then back to driving in the afternoon. So I gathered a group of students to come down to our transportation department and help clean all the buses. And we got publicity, so like our school posted it and shared it, Lyft shared it. And they were very grateful because they don't have the time, and even on the days that they do have the time, since we live so far away from Mattoon and Charleston, grocery shopping trips take like 2 to 3 hours. You have to come home, put everything away. Like even day-to-day things in a smaller community are so much harder because you live so far away from all the necessities.
Gage treats her people right. She also insisted there would be donuts. Thank you, Gage. All right, so another neat service opportunity that Lyft did this year was the annual, so now the 3rd annual 9/11 stair climb. In our first year of existence, it occurred on a Friday that the following Monday would be 9/11, and we finally have a building that has lots of stairs. So why not challenge the students to say, hey, in memory of 9/11, which now is prior to our students' birth, right? And in the spirit of never forgetting and in the spirit of saying thank you to those who gave their lives and just in the spirit of first responders every day, day in and day out. We teach our students about 9/11, how far we've come since then, rising out of tragedy, right, into triumph. And so we challenge the students every year, how much can they climb? So an original twin tower had 110 floors, which is 2,071 steps. So if the students go from the basement to the 5th floor one time, 100 steps, but if they do that 21 times, that's the equivalent of climbing one of the twin towers. So we say to the kids, hey, do you want to do 21 by yourself? Do you want to form a team? Do you want to climb during your full 2 hours? And we see all different kinds of ways that it's done. Our gentleman on the last slide, a volunteer firefighter from Chrisman, he climbed this full 2 hours wearing his 80 pounds of firefighter gear. But we're really proud of our results this year. So throughout the whole day, you'll notice that staff and students climbed 114,300 total steps. So the equivalent of climbing one of the Twin Towers over 55 times on 9/11. So we got a good workout. All right. So this is a short segment that the Lyft News featured the day of service, and it's only just a couple minutes long, but it kind of features the areas that we went to regionally, so you can learn more about that. I want to fast forward. 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Well, while they work on that, just for the sake of time, I think if you guys have any questions for the students in regards to the process or the projects they did, or maybe what they're looking forward to, it's not necessary to show the video this evening because you all have access to this presentation too. You can watch it at some time. Any questions?
The first girl's from Cumberland. Where are the others from?
want to do introductions?
I'm not from here, but I moved my sophomore year from Chicago. Other than that,
I absolutely agree.
I've been in a female life.
Good place to be. Thank you very much for sharing with
Good
us. Okay. Let's move on to item 2.2, non-agenda. I will call these in alphabetical order. Bonnie Bellinger. You just want to, come up right there. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Perfect.
So I'm Bonnie. I'm a mom of a freshman boy. And basically, I just want to ask about last month. I want to start off by asking a couple weeks in September, there was a school shootings nationwide here in town. I know that I would like to know what the protocols are, verbal versus written, because my son was told and in a text thread that there was someone at the school that was going to go home and come back with a gun. My son was terrified. And my son at 14 should not have that fear in his face. He shouldn't have that fear at all. I shouldn't have to see my son that way. He didn't want to go to school. And I don't know the difference between a verbal and a written. Personally, it's the same thing. The kid that made the threat, is he coming back to school? Is he allowed to come back? Is he allowed to stay in ROTC? Because though ROTC has many qualities, they also deal with airsoft section, I assume, as if they did 17 years ago. Yes, there are differences, there are similarities. I don't want that kid to have more ammunition to him to know more and come back even with more firepower. It terrifies me. I am not anti-gun by any means. My household, we have them, so please don't take that. I want to know what's going on. I want to make sure that my child is safe, and my child does not have to worry or fear of going to school, because he's terrified. I was told by a couple different people the situation was taken care of, there was nothing to worry about. But how do you tell children that are terrified? In the text thread that he was in, if I could have signed those other children out, I would have, because the fear that was in that thread. And these children should not have to deal with that. I know that the bomb threats that we had 20 years ago was scary, let alone a firearm threat. And we've already had one, and I don't want another.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything we could say to her to just talk about safety? Is that something, Tim, without disclosing any specific information to comfort parents or children that are?
Yeah, I think, we typically follow the same protocol that we do, and I can allow Dave to speak to that, but, I think that's another reason that we're going into executive session this evening, is to share that information in the school security plans with the board, which is, those plans include a variety of. We don't have mics, Heidi, we don't.
We have a lip
said
building
that.
with technology. We don't have
Okay,
any way for
we're
people
not,
to
so-
hear.
you know what?
I'll speak louder. So can I stand up? Sure. So my answer to the question here is, yes, we do follow protocols in the district, and we do respond to every threat seriously. And we did twice that week. We had two specific false threats, unsubstantiated threats. and we follow those protocols every single time. So I think to answer a question about how do we share this information, the board they were aware last year. We also will share this evening in executive session about our safety plans. And those safety plans are shared with the board in executive session because they include the specifics of a shooter incident, of an armed intruder incident that we don't necessarily believe is of public information. And for that purpose, because we don't want an active shooter or someone following the plans that we have. So those are conducted with both MPD and MFD, and that's shared in complete confidence. Dave, anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I appreciate your comment. And first and foremost, the world of anonymous threats and texting is a real thing. I work with a variety of different agencies and work with them, the Department of Homeland Security, state police, local law enforcement, that group chief. Please know, anytime that you see or suspect that, contact the school or the police department. There's a communications and protocol set up. We follow that. A lot of things we can't discuss because the Illinois Student Records Act and Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, they're still students, so we have to abide by that. We can't violate the law of sharing those things, but know that those things are addressed and we take it very seriously. In addition, we meet with annual first responders every year before the start of the school year and go through our protocols for school safety. And we spend a couple hours in doing that. We share information, we upgrade information, we add information, we take their advice. And for example, when I first started in 2003, we had one school resource officer in the district. We have two school resource officers in the district now, working with the city and the police department. In addition, we have security personnel, retired law enforcement in every single one of our buildings. We get questions from the district, how we do that, how we get to do that. So there's security, and there's protocols. We follow the National Incident Management System committee training in all our buildings. We follow that protocol. We have a overarching protocol for the district, and then with each building, we have a school safety plan that we follow that adhere to those protocols and procedures as well. So they're in tune with the state police, with the local law enforcement, with the fire department, with the fire marshal. So we're universal in our practices with that. So in case there is an incident, we can lockstep with those agencies to address the issues when they come up. So please know that's being addressed. That's always addressed. That's a primary concern in our district. I understand that. But again, the social media threat that's new, we're working with the cybersecurity system, U.S. Cybersecurity Agency, and get some new protocols from that from the U.S. Department of Justice. Just received those this past week. And how we can implement some procedures like we do with bomb threats. And we get codes and we know, okay, we can identify X, Y, and Z to tell us what protocols and procedures we take based upon the information that we see. But first and foremost, like we tell our students, tell parents, anybody in the community, if you see something out there, because we can't control all that social media stuff, there's a plethora of that out there. Communicate out to school district, with administrator, law enforcement, and we put things into play, either validate the threat or not validate the threat. If it's validate the threat, we're going to communicate. And procedures will go into action. If it's not a validated threat, we can't find that until we get the factual information. Once we do, we'll share that too. But again, understand your concern. Understand, what we need to do, and it is a scary world of that. And we're open systems, we're school systems, we're not closed systems, we're not penitentiaries, we're open systems. So that's a challenge. But the challenge is it takes a community to have that conversation and to communicate when those things are happening. And when those things are addressed, it's a teachable moment for a student not realizing sometimes age maturation, when they say something on social media that may have a negative impact, they're not aware of that because it's the norm. That's a teachable moment for us too. And then we also look at things to determine through those protocols. We also have student threat assessment systems that we utilize. Our people are trained. The Department of Homeland Security on those protocols. We have a team in every building. So when a student demonstrates specific behaviors and characteristics that we recognize that are significant threat, level those, and then things are put into play to address those for said student or students that comes into play. And that's a very good team that works very well as well. It has psychologists in each building on that team, teachers, professionals, social workers, administrators, law enforcement. It's a group effort. So those things are happening in the district, happening for a long time in our district. So just know those things are being addressed. We take it seriously, and we want kids to feel safe. We want our staff to feel safe. We want people to know that it's a safe place to learn and grow when they come to our buildings. So those are the efforts that we're doing and continue to do on a daily basis. I talk to law enforcement. What, 3 times a day, chief? Yeah. So it's happening. Communication, we're working together, collaboration happens every day.
Is
So we can take those things.
protocol for the students in a situation like that, for them to either talk to a teacher,
To
know
let
somebody
them
they
know.
have to go to, are they aware of that protocol?
Yeah, if the situations are like that, we get that communication out to teachers, and I let the kids know, here's a place to go, or here's communicate, here's what's happening, the information we have. For example, you know, if something's going on, not necessarily around or hearing things, but again, social media, we can try to clarify that, and if we're worked up, there's counselors that we have in our district, social workers, psychologists, student service workers that will help the folks that are struggling as well. But always call and let us know. Always communicate with us, and, you know, and sometimes, as you know, students know, we don't know. So it's, we try to act on it once we do. So again, I'll appreciate that and understand, you know, your concern with that, and continue to work with us on that. This is a safe place.
Ms. Bellinger, can I ask that you contact the high school and follow up with them with regards to your student, please? Okay,
And
thank you.
Sonia,
Okay,
I just want to say thank you for coming. What you have to say matters. And at the high school, I have 5 students there who meet with kids for lots of different reasons, including helping them feel safe and be anxious. I would highly encourage, if that's something that would be helpful for him, that you reach out and do that. But
Okay,
thank you for coming.
sorry. Next speaker, Jordan Coleman.
There was a question over here.
Okay, so, ma'am, I apologize. We can't turn this into a town hall, or we'll be here, we have a heavy agenda. We'll be here till midnight. So I would encourage you, if you have questions, you can come up to the board members after the meeting and talk to them. You come up and get my email. I will be happy to communicate with you.
We elect you to sit in that seat, we pay taxes for you to sit in that seat.
Mr. Coleman?
I don't know what the timer is, so.
It's right,
Start
it's
the
right.
music, okay? Hi, my name is Jordan Coleman. I'm the school social worker for the district, along with being a basketball coach and one of our youth sports coordinators. This is my 9th year full-time in the district, along with my 11th year coaching here. I'm most notably known for working at Riddle, but I also spent time at the high school this year as we were down one social worker. That's fine, as it gives me the opportunity to work with more kids, broaden my impact. And impact is something that is big to me. I was born and raised here in Mattoon, graduated from here in '09. I then went to U of I before coming back. People can understand why I'd come back. You could go anywhere, they'd say, but I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to go back and give back to the place that made me me. When I was hired here, I was exuberant. I love this town. I love this district. Things have changed drastically since my hire in 16. September 17, we had one of the worst days any of us will hopefully ever have. In 2020, I think we can agree we had the worst year any of us will hopefully ever have. And since 2020, negativity has become the new epidemic. I feel like it started at the national level, but has unfortunately seeped into our small town. I realized that when negativity surrounds me, I absorb it. I don't reflect it. I internalize it. It drags me down. It saps me. I had to make changes. I deleted my Facebook and my Twitter apps, and I began spending time with the ancient Greek Stoics. And something they constantly harped on was controlling what you can control. So I had to let it all go and let the world spin around me. And that actually lines up beautifully with an element in one of our 7 habits at school too, and that is only worrying about what is in your circle of influence, which we talk about with our kids all the time. The negativity and insults and questions of ethics and motives of me and my coworkers by people who don't know are not in my circle of influence. However, this has recently changed, and there comes a time when I cannot no longer sit idly by while the people I work with every day have to deal with all this. We all take the high road because we have to. I said things have changed since I started in 16, they have. Things are so much better. I am now more sure than I've ever been of the people I work with and work for. The people I see and work with every day have the same North Star. We have the same lighthouse guiding us, and that is helping kids. We get up every morning, strap on our big kid boots, and do everything we can to help kids. And guess what? Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we stay really late making things right. Sometimes we come in on the weekends and do the same. Sometimes we drive down Route 45 and see a message about how bad of a job we're doing and how ineffective we are. But guess what? We keep going. Because I don't answer to social media, and neither do the people I work with and will fight for. We laugh and cry and literally bleed together for our kids in our town. But here's the problem. We can only take so much. Good people will begin to leave this district. It will happen. Then what are you left with? If anyone has any issues with anything I have said, I'm pretty sure my email is a matter of public record. And board members, feel free to contact me and we can chat in my office. As I tell the kids at school, it's the coolest room in the building. Maybe you'll see what is actually going on and who is actually affected by the negativity of hurricanes swirling around our town. Thank you for the opportunity. Go Green Wave. I don't care if it's one word or two. Go Wildcats, go Matt. And good luck to all of us that just keep.
Angela Hampton.
My name's Angela Hampton. I have 3 daughters. One graduated from the high school, 2 currently in the high school. And since 2020, I've been at about 90% of the school board meetings. So this year was my 5th budget meeting last month, and was the 5th year that it was held during a board meeting and the public was not allowed to ask questions. I know for a fact that at least 2 of the last 5 years, it was brought to the attention of this board that that is a violation of the law. And yet it happened again this year. And during the meeting, a retired teacher brought it to the attention of this board that that is against the law. We have a board of intelligent people, including 2 attorneys. It took her a 5-minute Google search to prove that what you were doing is against the law. And if you didn't know that factually because you couldn't Google it, you should have known ethically that if you're spending $53 million of other people's money, we deserve the opportunity to ask questions. Last month, Heidi brought up the point that we were trying to approve some sports trips, a baseball trip to Georgia. You didn't want to approve it because there weren't numbers attached to it. And I thought, that's a valid point. I'm a taxpayer. I'd like to know what we're spending on sports trips or any kind of trip. Tim pointed out, we've never done that before. Haven't done it. We've approved many things without numbers attached to it. And I thought, well, that's a good point too. We haven't done it before. Mr. Gear pointed out, well, it can be done, but it's going to take some work. We got to put together the reports. It's going to take some time. And I thought that's a good point too. Because I'm a rational human being, I could see that you were all right. Nobody was wrong in that situation. It was just a fact. It's not about feelings. But we couldn't get anything done because the meeting devolved into arguing again and people leaving and people getting angry. Meanwhile, we have a college student teaching an honors English class. We have students with special needs who aren't getting what they need because of the staffing. We have teachers working in classrooms that are 85 degrees because the HVAC system is deteriorating. And we're running out of trash cans to catch the leaks in the ceiling at the high school. They're not feelings, they're just facts. It doesn't take away from the wonderful things that are happening in this district, and it's not one person's fault, and it's not one group's fault. It's a fact. I don't envy your position. I am grateful for you. I know it's hard, but you have the opportunity to change things for the better in this district. In fact, that's what you were elected to do or appointed to do. There should be no more excuses about not knowing things that we can easily Google. We need more, the community needs more, and I hope we can get past all of it so that we can accomplish that together.
Thank you. Jennifer Odell.
Hey, I'm Jennifer Odell. I have a daughter. She's a senior at the high school. I have a couple of questions. They're not really opinions, comments. So I was looking at our state board or our state report card. Can anybody help me understand why I'm looking at this and we are now in the 1% for math proficiency? I mean, we're going down. It's not anywhere near where it should be, and that's a problem for me because here's why. My daughter's freshman year and her sophomore year, I could not find a tutor. I couldn't get one at Lakeland. Mattoon High School couldn't offer me any way to get her a tutor. Eastern, no tutoring. I couldn't get a tutor to save my life. So I had to go to U of I and have my daughter tutored from a U of I student for math in the Mattoon district. I mean, we could be
we could be doing better with that. That's ridiculous. She struggled because they put her in a honors class after COVID, which we all know. Kids were going home using their laptops. They weren't doing the work like they should have been doing. They were cheating. They're students, they're at home, they have a computer, they're gonna cheat. So all these kids moved up into these honors classes and then were just falling on their faces, struggling, and couldn't get any help with it. So they were stuck in these honors classes and their grades were just falling into this nobody's gonna help them. So that's a problem. She is in comp now. This is the first time she has ever wrote any sort of essay where she had to have so many words in her essay. First time. And she's in a college level course. How in the heck she not ever wrote an essay in her educational career at Mattoon High School? I would like somebody to answer that for me.
Me too.
That is insane. She is in a college class that I'm paying for, and she doesn't know a damn thing about a narrative. There's problems with our academics, and that needs to be addressed before our kids go out into the world and are just falling flat on their faces. I don't care about a trade. They need trades. They need to be educated. These kids need ELA, they need science, and they need math. And that is something that we don't give a crap about anymore. And I don't understand it. It's bothering me because now I have to sit and wonder, do I have to send my kid that's got a GPA that she could go anywhere? Do I need to send her to a Lakeland before I send her off there? And that's a struggle for me. Thank you. Thank
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is the consent agenda. I will read the items on the consent agenda. 3.1 is 3.1A. The approval from the minutes from the regular board meeting of September 10th, 2024. 3.2A, presentation of the bills for approval. 3.2B, monthly financial reports by fund. 3.2C, year-to-date budget report. 3.3, the monthly enrollment report. 3.4, appoint Erica Weaver as a board delegate to the 2024 IASB Delegate Assembly. Item 3.5, approval of board policies presented September 10, 2024. Item 3.6A, 3.6, approval of Mattoon High School overnight trips as follows. 3.6A, the Mattoon High School Skills USA Lead Conference, October 17th through the 19th, 2024 in Peoria. 3.6B, the MHS FFA Build Conference, November 25th and 26th this year in Bloomington. 3.6C, the Mattoon High School Wrestling Mascoutah Invitational Tournament, December 20 and 21 this year in Mascoutah. 3.6D, the Mattoon High School FFA Ground Zero Conference, January 31st and February 1st of 2025. That's in Carbondale. 3.6E is MHS Skills USA State Convention, April 24th through the 26th of next year in Peoria. Item 3.6F, Mattoon High School Skills USA National Elite Competition, June 23rd through the 27th of next year in Atlanta, Georgia. 3.7, approval of the resolution to regulate expense reimbursements according to 105 ILCS 5/10-20. And item 3.8, approval of the Freedom of Information report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Ashley Overton. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by John Hedges. Is there any discussion on the board?
Yes, I have a question. Heidi, the FOIA request in this consent agenda that you were asking about last month?
Yes.
Is this the one that you were talking about?
Yes.
So if the FOIA wasn't completed and not reported to us board members yet, how did you know about it?
A community member informed me.
Community member.
That the people requesting the FOIA were requesting it. A community member.
A community member told me, because they were afraid we wouldn't be notified, that the FOIA was submitted and said, Heidi, I am submitting a FOIA and I want you to know. I didn't say whom, I said a community member.
Sure. Yeah.
But it speaks volumes about not feeling trustworthy because the FOIA process is a little questionable. As board members, we don't know when a FOIA comes in, do we? We are codependent on a superintendent sharing the FOIA request. And so that was the concern.
Okay.
So my question was, did they receive a FOIA? And the answer was yes. It just wasn't fulfilled.
Yet.
Yet.
Right, okay.
Yes, but that is what the question was.
Okay.
Obviously, I wasn't aware of timelines. I don't know when the
Yeah.
date had to be fulfilled,
Me
but I wanted to make sure that it was
Sure.
received, right?
Thank you.
Yes. I do have a question. Ryan Gear, Angela Hampton brought this up, and I want to thank you. I did get your email with the expenses for the overnight trips, and I'm disappointed that I didn't get them this month. And again, we have a wrestling trip, and so I'm not going to vote yes.
There's
on-
there's a link to them in the confidential notes.
And the confidential notes.
You did include it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. I
It's
apologize.
Were you not
3.6 in
able
the
to review your confidence?
I did review that, but I've been gone all weekend, and so I apologize for not seeing that. But I did review the confidential notes.
So it's identical to the email you received, it just breaks it down the same way.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that information.
So just a quick question, Callie, were you able to make the correction? Were you able to make the correction that I had
About,
on the minutes?
yes, yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the board on the consent agenda? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Callie, would you please call the roll?
Yep. Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes. Item 4 on the agenda, reports and recommendations of the business manager. Mr. Gear.
Christie, are you gonna run the?
I got you.
Thank you. All right, I'll use my coaching voice. All right, 4.1, board action to accept agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield as the school district's health insurance provider for the 25 and 26 calendar year. The total cost of the district plan will include a 12% increase in year 1 with an optional 15% rate cap option during year 2. In order to get these rates, we had to raise deductibles for a single from $1,500 to $2,000 and a family from $4,500 to $6,000. We work with First Mid Insurance Group to come up with this plan. They go out and get bids for us and bring us the best options, and this was the best option. The district insurance committee met last week to discuss this plan and agreed with the plan going forward, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so we recommend that the board accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield for the 25 calendar year with an option to renew for year 26 at 15% rate cap.
Questions from the board? Okay, is there a motion to accept the agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield as it's been presented?
Motion.
Yes, second. Motion from Erica Weaver, second from Jake Uphoff. Any discussion? Callie?
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
Thank you. 4.2, presentation of the 2024 Certificate of Tax Levy. And we will not take any action on this tonight. This is just a tentative, it's just some numbers out there. And I would encourage you to look over the numbers and then reach out to me in the next month if you have questions. I know this is a complicated issue. I know this is, firestorm issue that can be because it involves taxes. So, anybody in the public, you're welcome to email me. Anything you want, call me, and I'd love to talk about it with you as we go forward. But these are tentative numbers, no action again as we go forward. So again, we levy in dollars, not tax rates. We do not set tax rates. We just set an dollar amount that we can ask for, and then the county sets the tax rates based on a number of things. So a levy is the amount of money the district asks for, and the extension is the amount of money that the district receives. So the process with this is the board certifies the tax levy to the county clerk, which hopefully we'll do in November. Then the clerk assigns the appropriate tax rates to the operating funds, and then the county next year, so we're dealing with the levy we do in November, is for the taxes we receive in the 25-26 school year. So it's a year out. Just a quick chart on some revenue expenses, and I apologize for those of you in the back. These are difficult to read. This is on our school report card. So this is pulled directly off of our school report card. Oh, you got one back there? Thanks, I'm sorry. So you can see the thing on the left is just kind of the history of our district, and the graph on the right is the history of the state, and this just breaks it down. When we did talk about the budget last month, local funding versus state funding versus federal funding. And like I said, the district is on the left side, the state is on the right. So you can see our local funding is less than state. That has a lot to do with the suburbs and property values in the suburbs, I'm sure. But we're hovering right around that high 40% range of our local revenue is what makes up our budget. Okay, and then a big chunk with the state and a smaller chunk with the federal. So again, that's all on ISB's website under our school report card. It only goes through 22 because the state's lagging in their reporting just like they do on test scores. Okay, we are a P-TIL district, so we do have tax caps. So again, it's capped at 5% or CPI, whichever is lower. So CPI, that is determined in in December. So last December, we do CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index for inflation, and it was at 3.4. So we're capped at 3.4 this year, and that's what I used when I did the levy on the next slide. So you can kind of see a history of where we were. The last couple of years, it said 4.99%. Those percents were much higher, but we were tax capped, so we went under 5%. Okay, and then the next one are the tentative levy numbers. The FY24 levy, again, this is a year out, so that's what we levied last November, the 12.1, the 1.8, 180,000, so on the middle column there. The one on the right is the proposed levy, the FY25 levy, okay? And last year, first time doing this and going forward, we took, when we did our levy, we took each category, those are the things that we can levy for, and we increased our rate was 4.99%, so we went up 4.99% in each one, and as we move forward. This year, we're going to be a little bit more strategic as we go forward because we have some issues, not issues, but just some reasons why we're doing these, and those are on the left. The education fund, salaries and benefits continue to increase as we keep up with the surrounding districts. We agreed to a contract back in March, I believe, February, March, with the teaching union, and our salaries are going up, so we could use a little bit more money in the education fund. Leasing, we no longer lease our Chromebooks. We paid those off with ESSER's money, so we don't really need the levy for leasing. The only building we lease is this storage building across the street, and right now it's $1 a year, so we don't really need the levy for the $1. That may change because I think new ownership is going to take over that building soon, but it will be minimal compared to, it won't be near $180,000 a year. So we've moved that leasing into the education fund. Special education have increased a little bit because, as somebody mentioned earlier, our kids, our special ed kids need resources, so allocate a little bit more money than that. The O&M and the transportation, I just did the 3.4% for both of those. Social Security and IMRF, if you noticed when we amended the budget in June, we had a large surplus in the 50 fund, and it's because we're just a little bit over levied there, so I've moved some money out of those funds, and again, moved them up to education and special ed, and then health, life, safety, we've kept the same. So the numbers at the bottom, those are the total for the levy. That is a 3.4% increase from 16.8 million to 17.4 million. So again, those are our numbers, and the reason for that is out to the left. So again, I know this is a lot of information and a lot of numbers, and like I urged you before, I'll take some questions down if you want me to, but I've looked through this, and if we want to have a discussion over it, let me know and we can talk through it. But I also go to a workshop next Tuesday, I believe, in Effingham with all the local business managers and some former retired business managers and we go through this levy line by line and help each other out and just kind of look over it and check on each other and make sure everybody's on the same page. So I will have a little bit, maybe a little bit different numbers, but really, really close to this as we go forward. So. Questions?
We'll seek action next month.
The action will be next month, and we'll go. I'll have a few more slides on this next month and get into more specifics.
Okay. Questions for the board for Mr. Gear? I would reiterate Mr. Gear's offer to members of the public reach out to him. We have a month before we have to act on this. Property taxes can be a complex issue. I've yet to been able to ask Mr. Gear a question he hasn't been able to answer, which has been a little frustrating for me. Maybe someone out here can do better, and I'm sure he can answer all your questions.
Ryan, could you?
Thank you, Dale.
Ryan,
You're
can you
welcome.
explain?
You're welcome.
Quick question. So Social Security went down, but payroll went up. Help me understand just preliminarily.
So Social Security and IMRF are both in the 50 fund.
Okay.
So, those are just the salaries for our hourly people. So our teachers are TRS, they're not IMRFers.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So that went down because of the population?
Well, it didn't go down, we just have a surplus in that account. So, we don't want to keep building that fund balance in the 50 fund because it can't be transferred out like some of our other funds can be.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So you're just trying to more accurately predict what
Yeah,
you're actually gonna need in the 50 fund by, instead of having a surplus like you've had in the past.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So that's all we have there. 4.4.
Three.
4.3.
Thank you.
Good numbers. All right, board action for permission to bid Mattoon School chiller and boilers. So this came up earlier today as well. Hopefully this is our final one, but we would like to go out, or we're having problems with the chillers and the boilers, both at Mattoon Middle School. We had some issues here in August and September of it getting hot in there. Dustin and his crew have done everything they can to keep them running as well as they can. Again, they were all bought at the same time, so they're all going bad at the same time. So we want to go out to bid in November, or go out to bid this month and bring back some bids in November to see if we can accept those bids. So we would use sales tax money from FY26. So again, probably after July 1 of next summer. And the recommendation is that the board seek bids for the chiller and the boilers at Mattoon Middle School.
Questions from the board?
You need a motion first before questions, or?
Okay, we can do that too.
Motion.
Second motion. Ashley Overton, second from Jacob Hoff to request permission to solicit bids. Is there a question, are there questions from the board? Excuse me.
So how are the boilers? Are they gonna heat this winter?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Says the cameraman.
We'll keep them running.
Okay.
Other discussion or questions? We have a motion and a second. Callie, would you please call the roll?
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes, item 4.4.
All right, this one's gonna help hopefully with the last one. So for the third year in a row, ISB has offered up a $50,000 match for a maintenance grant that you can use to repair things in your district. So the board has to give me approval to apply for this grant as we've done the last 2 years. Let's see, I've kind of gone through there. So we're going to apply for this grant to offset some of the costs of the chiller at Mattoon Middle School. So hopefully get $50,000 to make that $50,000 cheaper for the district. The administrative team recommends that the board give approval for the pursuit of this grant.
Is there a motion to approve the administration applying for the grant?
Motion.
Motion from Erica Weaver. Is there a second?
Sure.
Cheryl, thank you. Cheryl Armstrong. Questions or discussion amongst the board? Callie?
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gear. Number 5 on the agenda, reports and recommendations of the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Dr. Scosi.
Okay, thank you. The board has before them the October personnel report. Certified resignations, see none. There, 5.1B, certified appointments. Nina Bender recommending substitute teacher effective immediately. Elgin Combs, substitute teacher effective immediately. John Hayden, sub teacher effective immediately. Tammy Munyon, many of you recognize that name. Long-time secretary retired. The substitute teacher effective September 16, 2024. And Emma Plunkett, substitute teacher effective immediately. Happy to have substitute teachers willing to come in and assist our staff. I'm so grateful for that. Classified resignations, Alexis Colbert resigning as Riddle Elementary School Supervisor effective immediately. Tangy Craig resigning as Williams Elementary School Supervisor effective August 9, 2024. Debbie Kalis resigned as Williams Elementary School School Supervisor effective September 12th, 2024. Then we move into classified appointments. Deandra Cottrell, Williams Elementary School Title I Para, recommending for hire effective immediately. Thomas Schneers, recommended as Williams Elementary School Parapro, effective immediately. Lisa Endenbrock, substitute nurse, effective immediately. Crystal Montage, substitute bus driver, Montagey, sorry, effective immediately, so excited about that as well. And then we go through a gaggle of volunteers. It's October, everybody wants to go to the pumpkin patch. So that's what, which is wonderful as well. But you can see, I won't read all those. Volunteers, again, that's wonderful. We have, I think, well over 300 volunteers in our district. So all the way from Holly Angel, all the way down to Danielle Worth, recommended volunteers effective immediately. No extracurricular resignations, extracurricular assignments. Jeremy Gibson is recommended as Matthew High School 10th grade sponsor effective immediately. Hannah Mendel, recommending as Matthew High School 9th grade sponsor effective immediately. And then you also have Malia Smith, recommending Matthew High School 9th grade sponsor effectively. Question came up, why do we have 2 per grade level? They split a stipend and or sometimes for fundraising. So Dale Beef also recommending Matthew High School 10th grade supervisor, sponsor, effective immediately. Then we move to the addendum. Are you keeping up?
I'm with you.
Okay. So certified resignations, Kelsey Belts has resigned, Riddle Elementary School 4th grade teacher, effective immediately. Moving down to classified appointments, Sarah Stremming, Little Leaders daycare professional, effective immediately. Logan Glidwell, a substitute building security supervisor, effective immediately. Tammy Munyon, she is again substitute parapro, effective immediately, September 16, 2024. Lexus Colbert, volunteer. Brittany Plummer, volunteer. Kristen Watson, volunteer. And Tori Watson, all volunteers, effective immediately. And then extracurricular assignments, Jenna Black, Williams Elementary School basketball coach, effective immediately. Allie Conlon, Riddle Elementary School basketball coach, effective immediately. Jen Hilligoss, Williams Elementary School basketball coach, effective immediately. And Alyssa Powers, Riddle Elementary School basketball coach, effective immediately. Well, I want to see those people coach against each other, some competitive past athletes there from Mattoon High School. So, are there any questions? See none, then I would recommend the board accept the personnel report as presented.
Do we have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
Yes.
John Hedges, second.
Second.
Second from Ashley Overton. Discussion or questions from the board? Very well. Callie?
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Abstain.
Ryder.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Scosi. So we are on to item number 6, reports and recommendations of the superintendent. 6.1 is a lift update.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to share with the board some really exciting news and celebration. And this has been something that's been requested by Dr. Larson to include on the agenda. And it didn't meet the timeline from the last month, so we were able to include it on this month's. So I'm going to kick it off by just sharing that, after we're getting close to wrapping up the first quarter, so enrollment occurred all the way even into the first part of September. Some new enrollees came on board at Lyft, but want to turn this over to share a little bit more of the exciting news, and I'll allow McLean Schaefer, director here at Lyft, to introduce our friend from the Illinois State Board of Education.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. We have some celebrations here tonight, some update on Lyft and what's happening with our Regional Career Center here. So I'd like to first start by look up on the slides, and you can kind of get a snapshot of what we're going to go over for our update today. Starting off with our guest from the Illinois State Board of Education, Marcy Johnson, who's the CTE director for CTE, who has some information to share about an area career center designation for Lyft. So I'll turn it over to her to share that. Thanks, Marcy.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm really excited and to congratulate all of you. We have gone through a lengthy process with Mattoon and with Lyft, and we are able to announce that you are now the 27th Area Career Center here in Illinois, which is steps that we go through. We go through a lot of back and forth, making sure that all the information is included and we have what we want, because we do want quality. And one of the things that being an area career center is something that we don't have a lot of in the state. Like I said, we only have 27 of them in the state. And actually, within this last year, we added 3 new ones. Up till then, we hadn't had any new ones since the 70s. And so being able to be part of this is really an accomplishment for you guys. And I really want to commend you all for the work and the support that you're doing. And knowing that the benefits that you're giving to your students, the opportunities, I know that there are small schools that come here as well as, Mattoon, and students are getting an opportunity to learn different careers. If you think about where you're at today and how you got where you're at, think about what got you here. And are you where you would have been when you got out of high school? And how many times did you change before you actually got to where you're at today? And that's one of the goals of the Area Career Center, is to stop not doing career exploration once you go to college. You do the career exploration when you're in high school, learning about what you want to know, where your passion's at, and then that's when you learn that trade. You need a career whether you go into a job or you go to a college. You're still going to have that career when you get out. And this is just giving all the students that leg up. There's additional funding. ISB is committed to career and technical education. And we set aside funds specifically for Area Career Center out of our career and technical education funds. And so that just shows you where we feel that, we think that Area Career Centers are important. Students get a lot of benefit from going to an Area Career Center. They also get opportunities to experience, like quality equipment. They get opportunities to do work-based learning, to go into the community. And then when they graduate, they're going to come back. So you're building up that employer database for your community. And this is another way to make it stronger. So I just, again, want to commend you for your commitment to Area Career Centers and for career and technical education. And thank you very much. Thank you.
So thank you, Marcy, for being here. I was told she's got quite a long drive here tonight, so we're very thankful for you being here and for working through this extensive process. It hasn't been easy, and it's been an entire team effort for our whole team, and a lot of the rest of this presentation tonight will speak more about that team effort and the great things we're trying to do, not only for Mattoon, but for our region and workforce development throughout. So our next slide talks about our enrollment growth. Again, more good news here. As enrollment grows, now as an Area Career Center, funding grows. More importantly, opportunity grows, stories grow, regional business growth grows. Those are the stories that we're here to tell, and then here today we'll have another story to share with you on that. But since our inception, 103 students from fall of 2022 to fall of 2024, we are today with 257 enrolled students. So we're seeing growth across the board in all of our programs and pathways. We're seeing growth from our regional sending schools that are coming here. We're seeing growth of interest in Mattoon, for Mattoon High School as well. And so I think the story of this line is growth. I'll also say the story of this line is we're not satisfied. We're not okay with that. And we are still on trajectory to continue to grow as we see that line up. And we're going to be able to talk to some community partners that have been a part of our advisory boards since our inception, who advise us on the next steps and what we need to do to continue to be better, to be the most competitive programs that we can create within the trades, and for students as they're working through to serve our region. So I'd first like to introduce Derek Bartlett. He's a representative from Commercial Electric and also our local electrical union, who's been a part of our advisory board since before this building was even touched, and a champion of the trades work, who will just share a little bit about his involvement with LIFT. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you. Yeah, as Mike said, I'm Derek Bartlett with Commercial Electric. I was part of the advisory board in the very beginning. Got the opportunity to work on the project here. I want to speak a little bit about our commitment as the IBEW, the National Electrical Contract Association, to these types of programs. I had the opportunity here recently to go down to San Diego to the National Electrical Contractors Association Convention. This is a group of 4,000 contractors nationally that meet once a year. And the Lift Solar Canopy Project was awarded the Energy Solutions Green Building under $1 million. That is a huge achievement for our area here and for Lift Building. I had the opportunity there in San Diego to listen to some of the big groups from our industry, which would be the National Electrical Manufacturing Association, the National Electrical Distribution Association, and the National Electrical Manufacturing Representatives Association. All those groups, 4 of them, along with the National Electrical Contractor Association, I apologize for all that. They formed a new alliance, and their new alliance is focused on fulfilling the manpower shortages that are going to hit our industry. And this leads into kind of what McLean was talking about with our alliance with Lift. They're looking at 3 key points. 1 is promoting the industry, 2 is education, and 3 is sharing data between these 3 major groups. Again, these groups are the juggernauts of the industry I work in, the electrical industry. If you buy a light fixture, these 4 entities make that possible. So why do we value the assets we have here at Lift? And it's because here they're promoting the trades. Promoting. If you're not wanting to take the college avenue, there's other avenues available for you. That's a good career. That's an option outside of college with education. And then with education, we're starting early. They're letting the kids decide if this is the right path they want to be on. And then we're sharing the data between each other. What projects are coming up? What's it looking like in the industry? Hey, we're going to need a call for 60 individuals right now currently for the solar project north of that too. It's an unfilled call. It is an opportune time right now in our industry, if you wanted to go on that career path, to get in a program like this, to put kids to work the day they graduate. Guaranteed. I've sat there at the Futures meetings there at the high school when we do the Futures Day. They come to me and they talk to me, is this the right career path for me? I say, if this is what you want to do, this is what you need to be. Walk across the aisle and talk to the gentleman over there at the Lift Building. Because I've sat on the committee for the Mid-State Electrical Training Center. I've sat there as we see kids come and go and the interview, and you get them a 15-minute window, and you can't go in and just say that I went to school every day and I have good grades. You have to have something that's going to set you above and beyond the next person behind you. A lot of times you're getting individuals who are 26, 27, 28 years old. They've been out in the industry, they have the grades, they come back, this is what they want to do. If you want to do something like this right out of high school, you have to have a program like the one we have here. So I would say, in closing, again, the IBEW, the Illinois chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, and the Mid-State Electrical Training Committee. Again, I apologize for all the acronyms. There are currently 60 jobs available as of today, if you wanted to take a call. Matter of fact, we just hired 2 high school graduates from Shelbyville that I think came through the program here. And they're putting in a call. Usually every year, we take on about 16 individuals. Every year to start a new class. This last year, we took on 60. In August of this year, we took on another 20. In February of next year, we're taking on another 20. So in normal class year of 16 people, we're going to take on 100. As I said, these are good paying jobs, good benefits. If you don't have the career path avenue of going to college and you want to go this direction, we need lives. So I think Lift for the work that they're doing, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek, for that. I want to introduce Kayla Aaron, who's also been on our advisory board since our inception, representative of First Mid, but also a parent of a current student. So she has a unique perspective to share on Lift as well. Thanks, Kayla.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kayla Aaron. I am a residential mortgage lender at First Mid here in Mattoon, so I do work in the community directly with some of you. I have been a part of LIFT in some way, shape, or form since before there was even a building. I remember meeting with Jessica and we talked about curriculum and ideas. And I came into it more on the finance leadership side, but then fell in love with the concept for my own children. I've got 3 kids, 2 of which are in high school. They do not go to Mattoon High School, but I am beyond grateful for the opportunity that they have to be able to come to Mattoon and be a part of the program. My 15-year-old does not have that opportunity yet, but I hope that this is still here and available to him when he does. I think as parents, we kind of know if our kids are college bound, if maybe they're trade bound. Not everybody fits into, you can't take a square peg and stick it in a round hole. And in my opinion, my parental opinion, sometimes the public school system, that's what it is. You put a kid at a desk, they all learn the same thing, they all test on it. Determining on how well they do on that test determines how well they do moving forward. I heard some of you make comments about your kids and their confidence levels and those things, and I will tell you, I have seen firsthand some of these students at the beginning of the year, they are scared, they are shy, they are timid. By the time they are leaving LIFT, they are running meetings. They are putting together agendas. They are putting together things. They are coming out of their shells. They are blossoming. And I wanted that for my kids, and I really wanted it for my daughter. She's a senior this year, going to a small school. I won't sugarcoat it. She has hated high school all the way through. She does well in school. She gets good grades. That's not the issue. But the making friends, the keeping friends, the constant, the Snapchat, and the social media, and all that kind of stuff that we get to deal with, that part is hard. In an environment like LIFT, where they get to really do what they want to do, they get to experience what captivates them, what may motivate them. They get to work at their own pace. I have got to see my daughter in just 2 short months. Well, to be completely honest, just last week she goes, I don't want to go to school today. I really want to take a mental health day, but I don't want to miss LIFT. Do you know how heartwarming that was to hear her? It has been hard dealing with a teenager and their hormones and all that kind of stuff. That is hard. So I'm going to speak to you from a parental level. The connection with First Mid has been great. We've been able to get students job shadowing opportunities. We were able to secure a senior this last year with a summer internship with our insurance department. So I get to meet with the kids and connect with the kids, but to see my own daughter come out of her shell and to grow in 2 months, you can't put a dollar on that. And I'm just telling you, as a parent, you've got to get your kids in an environment where they feel that they can be themselves and they can grow what they want to accomplish, not what some curriculum says they need to do. And in environments like LIFT, the trade schools, whether in finance and leadership, maybe they do want to go to college, and that will help open the door for them to make that decision. And some of them just don't know. But having the opportunity to experience other departments, I know that they may do finance and leadership, but they may get to go downstairs and see the kids. My daughter's in childhood development. She doesn't necessarily want to be a teacher, but she does want to work with kids in some way, shape, or form. She's thinking more of going into physical therapy. So from my perspective, which I argued with the guidance counselor on, because she did tell me, well, she wants to go into physical therapy, what does that have to do with the child care development? I will tell you, when I work with young adults out in there and they're coming into the bank, their inability to communicate, their inability to speak up for themselves, and their inability to see a bigger picture is sad. And I wanted my daughter to have an opportunity to work with kids and determine, do you really want to do this? Regardless of what level it is, whether it's physical therapy or daycare, it doesn't matter. But for her to have that opportunity hands-on, to get all these certifications, when she leaves, I think she'll have a certification she could have an income daycare if she wanted. We're not doing that, she still lives at home. She would have that opportunity and being exposed to other elements and other things. And she can go visit other floors. I know that she gets to meet with Jessica on occasion, even though she is not signed up for that capstone or for that area, she still gets to be a part of that environment. So I just encourage you to look at LIFT and the trades in a different light and to think of it as your kids an opportunity to grow and learn and experience a different environment in your traditional school system.
We're able to gather a few other partner testimonials from partners that work directly with us in some form or fashion that you just didn't have time to work tonight. So Ms. Peterson, I know Margie worked closely with your floor.
Yes, and I appreciate Eric and Kayla coming in tonight and hearing them speak. When people like these two come in, they just set the students on fire. It's so inspirational. It empowers them. This week, we had a gentleman come in who does game design, board game design, card games. We had the interim executive director of Elevate here talking about Google certifications. And when these professionals come in and they start to talk about these soft skills and the leadership, just like Kayla was saying, it might even not be specific just to that content of that one specific pathway. You are developing character within them and confidence. And the doors just open in their brain of possibility in their life. And as I was really reflecting about this evening, the word, and almost everybody said it so far, it's opportunity. There are so many opportunities, and I do executive level coaching with my students, and that word keeps coming up about what they love about Lift. And I just think about the timeline of being able to have this opportunity to be our district leadership facilitator starting 6 years ago, but really the opportunity came out of tragedy in 2017. We had the opportunity to make it into something different. We chose leadership to be that something different. We had the opportunity, because the board granted opportunities for us to visit schools and to find the leader in me and to find the 7 habits. We had the opportunity for this building to become available. We had the opportunity to join in this crazy mission to make this happen. And now students have the opportunity just to live the 7 habits, to take responsibility of their life, to make plans and goals, and then to prioritize and execute, to think abundantly rather than scarcity. They have the opportunity to seek to understand other people and then respectfully be understood. They have the ability and the opportunity to know that together we are better, and to know that our differences are what is critical to us succeeding. And then also important, they know to take care of themselves and to take care of others. And so for me to kind of, echo what Jordan said tonight, 18 years, and I couldn't be more blessed to be in this district to have this opportunity, could not be more proud of what Lift has done. And thank you for your news tonight too, it's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to head to the next slide. Ed Dowd, who's been a champion of Lift and really connecting us with businesses through the chamber. We were just at the expo last week, both like as Lift leaders, but then also our culinary arts. We're providing food at the Taste of the Expo. Talks about that. And then Mayor Rick Hall, who always calls us at the last minute, says, hey, somebody's in town, we're going to walk them through Lift, and all hands on deck, and we're ready to go. So we love the mayor and his support and the interest that's there. So you heard the update from Jess from the leadership lens and the importance of that, not only for our perspective and our personal belief, but how important that is to our industry partners. I'd like to turn over to Mr. Compton, who's our HVAC Green Energy third floor engineering guru. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Compton. Like McLean said, I'm on the program facilitator over the third floor. So we have a lot of hats on the third floor. So I think I teach 15 different courses that students can take on my floor, all happening at once. So box kittens. So I just want to touch briefly on a couple things. One thing is, we're always talking about our success stories. So we have another one. I was contacted just shortly after the beginning of the school year by a parent from one of our students in my robotics program. He came to us as a junior. Did 2 years with us, earned 2 factory certifications from the global leader in robotics. Those certificates are not weighed down. Those programs are not designed for high schools. They're the exact same program that robotic engineers take if they go to the factory and take those courses. So it's a very high workload. The student really excelled. We got him into an internship with a local manufacturer. He was doing some robotic cell design for them because that's what his certifications kind of led into. Got a call from mom. So backstory, the student came to me adamant he was not going to college. Mom texted me adamant he was going to college. So I had 2 years to work. That angle. But mom contacted me. He was actually hired as a robotics technician apprentice with one of our local manufacturers. They said, hey, you probably need to go to college, but don't worry, we're gonna pay for that. So he's in their industrial robotics apprenticeship program. He's actually the 2nd or 3rd student that we've actually placed from on my floor through a paid apprenticeship program. So he's now getting paid a salary from this company to go to school, and they're also paying his school, and he'll have a really good career as a robotics technician. The other thing I want to touch on, so that's tangible, right? We see all these certificates. We can put up here all day long because that's what we do. We connect kids with industry credentials. But some of the stuff that you don't see are the things that are not tangible, right? So the things that unless you're there in the moment. So I want to take a minute to just kind of talk about like how Lyft has kind of affected me. So for those of you that don't know, I'm not a traditional teacher. I've only been a teacher, I think this is my 4th year. I don't know how I got into this. So this is my retirement gig, and everybody asks me why, and sometimes I don't know. And then I come in and I look at a table in the back of my lab. It's a very small table. It's a round meeting table. Holds 4 adults or high school boys, football players comfortably. So every morning when I come in 7:45, I have about 9 high school boys jammed around this small table. And so some of you probably ask right now, do we need to get Mr. Compton some more tables in the budget line? And the answer is no. I've got plenty of beautiful seating. And so the story behind that is, and what is significant about it, are these 9 boys that crammed together represent 7 different schools in our region. And 8 weeks ago, they were complete strangers. In fact, 8 weeks ago, some of them were pretty staunch sports rivals. And they had predetermined stereotypes and paradigms about what other communities were and what other kids and students in other communities were. And they sat, not knowing each other, at their work tables. And now, 8 weeks later, they are an inseparable team. And so I think just what I want to close on, because McLean said I had 5 minutes, so is that we have to look beyond the tangible. We have to look beyond the certificates. We have to look beyond the apprenticeships and all this other great stuff. And we have to look at the root of what we're creating. And sometimes not ask what it costs us to do this, but I think the question we need to ask is what does it cost if we don't do this? Because when I was in charge of things and I was making hiring and firing and termination decisions and sending those to HR, and I would have people come in and interview, I only wanted to know 3 things. I wanted to know if they were coachable. So could they take criticism not as individual failure, but could they take criticism and learn and grow from that? Could we teach them? Were they coachable? Could I integrate them into a team? So can I take people from diversity and can I make them operate as a unit? And 3, did they have the passion and the drive and the motivation to grow and learn and become the people that we're going to teach them down the road and carry that forward? So I didn't much care about ACT and SAT scores, and I never asked to look at a school report card. I wanted to know those 3 things. And don't take my comments as negative, because I'm also the teachers union, and I represent all 232 of some of the best teachers and educators that I've ever had the pleasure of working with and representing. And so we love you all. But I think we need to look beyond sometimes traditional education, and we need to take that paradigm, we need to crumple it up, and we need to throw it in the trash can. And that's what we've done. We've crumpled it up and thrown it in the trash can. We're doing something completely different. The seed of the great sequoia is 2 millimeters. So for those of you that don't speak metric-ese, that's about the size of a pinhead. But it takes years to grow into that tree. So we planted the seed, here's our seedling, and now we just gotta wait for it to grow into that tree. That's all I got.
We always like to highlight a student success story and let them tell the story for you. And so tonight we have Andrew Lotus, who's a student alum, who's got a pretty interesting story from last year, and I'll let you tell the story.
So thank you guys, thank you to the board, and thank you guys for giving me the time. So my story started out my first semester here, senior. I didn't plan on coming here for that long. I planned on graduating early and not coming here my second semester. But as everyone up here has said, Lyft is like no other. The relationships and everything you build here, the connections, it definitely propels you and helps you for your future. So around nearing the end of the first semester, when I was supposed to graduate, I decided to retract my early graduation, and I already had all my credits done, so I was able to come here for all 3 sessions last year. Started here in the morning at 8 o'clock. I had 2 different courses I was taking here, and then my 3rd session in the afternoon, I would go to each of the 4 schools and I would intern there. I was on the IT floor, to mention, but that eventually led into a summer internship, and that just propelled me even more, and eventually a job opened, and now I'm able to work for the school district. I can definitely mention your daughter's story. I was very introverted whenever I first started here, but as I kept coming here more and more, I opened up a lot more. I talked to a lot more people, and we got a lot of very nerve-wracking speaking roles, even today. But those speaking roles have helped me connect to a lot of different people. Mentioned Rick Hall, the mayor. One of those times I got to connect with him, and I still have to email him and kind of putting that to the side, even though I shouldn't. But he wants me to keep reaching out to him, keep updating him about my goals and everything like that, and he wants to connect me to people above him and help put out my story and just help me out for the future. But without this building, I would not have been anywhere near where I am today. I would still be clueless in college, and I would still be struggling a lot. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to share some great stories. It takes a village, and so this is just a sampling of individuals up here. I think I counted this morning, just doing a little adding, and up to this point, year 3, we've had over $75,000 in scholarships awarded from industry and community partners that believe in clearing the path for our kids all throughout the region. And so, like Mr. Compton said, we're a seedling. Like, this is a journey, not a destination. We won't arrive. It will always be a story of growth and an opportunity for our kids. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and we'd like to open it up to questions that the board might have.
Real quick, from our friend from Springfield, your name again, please, ma'am?
Marcy Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, first of all, thank you for making the trip. It's an honor to be designated as, did you say the 27th or 28th?
27.
27th. I have one question. Did you bring money with you?
No, I forgot. Sorry.
Is there a funding piece that comes with this designation?
Yes, there is.
Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. So we, in fact, just recently, we redid the whole CTE methodology for how we distribute funds throughout the state.
Okay.
And one of the pieces of the CTE funds is area career centers. And so we are taking approximately 20% of our CTE state funds that we get and we set aside for the area career centers. And then what we're looking at is an average enrollment. So we look at it over an average of over 3 years or the current enrollment. And then we calculate it on a per student. And right now it's close to $700 per student in what we would pass out. So depending upon what your enrollment is, we calculate it times that, and that's how we distribute the funds for area career centers.
Okay. So the more a center grows, the more money it will attract in this funding model.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you again for
You're
making
welcome.
the trip.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Other,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can
please.
I ask a question? The funding that you just talked about, like the $700 per student, that's just for whoever is enrolled at the Lift Center, right? It doesn't matter what district they come from?
Because that's why we look at just the enrollment, not whether they're in courses or anything like that. We just look at enrollment because we know that every area career center in the state pulls from, that's how you become an area career center in area. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is that per semester, per year?
Per year.
Per year. Thanks.
other questions from the board?
I don't think I have a question. I think I was just, your story tonight really,
it spoke to me. And I just really want to appreciate all of you and all of your stories. Mr. Compton, I know you already sat down. You know, I'm a farmer. I'm just a farmer, man. I just go to work with my dad and uncle every day, and it's a pretty simple life. So the trades are just, you know, right there at the top for me. And to see what this building can do for not only our community, but our region, reassures to me that Mattoon is and always has been the place to be. To Mr. Coleman's point earlier, it always has been the place to be. And this is a way that we're going to be able to keep it there. So thank you very much.
Thank you for taking your time tonight. I appreciate it. I have questions, but it's not for them.
Okay.
For the team.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
So I asked for the lift to be on the agenda tonight for a variety of reasons. I think it's important that we look at numbers because numbers are what we represent for taxpayers. And so I would like, if we could, Ryan, if you could put, or Tim, the charts that show the enrollment and the cost, if you could put that up. If I had gotten the presentation tonight, before tonight, I've been looking for it, I would have asked for numbers because that's what I'm asking for. I want an overview of lift, I want to look at numbers, and you sent me 2 charts, and I think that could be helpful if we can look at the numbers for the enrollment.
I don't have those available, do you?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
If you could, like, do you have access to your email, and you sent them to me, so you have it.
Sure.
They're just 2 charts on an Excel spreadsheet that had total enrollment of students, and then what is the budget and the cost for lift. Those are the questions that I have. It's been very clear to me, and I understand the amazing things that Lyft does. I think we've heard lots of great stories. There's trades in my family. Many of you have trades. This is not, Larson doesn't like the trades. That's the spin in the community. That's what's being shared, that Dr. Larson's against Lyft and trades. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. What I'm here to say is I'm going to look at numbers and taxpayer dollars because that is important. We have $53 million to educate the entire Mattoon School District, not part of the Mattoon School District, the whole Mattoon School District. We've heard a mom today talk about education. Our education is not doing well. For 5 years, we've had a trajectory of decreasing academic performance. I've said it multiple times that the Chicago Public Schools are outperforming Mattoon students. That is a problem. I have yelled at from the ceilings for 3.5 years, and I'm concerned. So what we look at, just like you do at home, is you take your pot of money and you say, how much am I going to pay for utilities? How much is expendable income? How much is for bills? And then you decide how to use resources. And that's what we need to manage and measure here at the Lift. And that's what I've asked to do. As the enrollment, many of you, including you, Mr. Compton, have said, the enrollment changes, which means the bottom line for Lift is a revolving door. So we have to know how many students are in, who's paying tuition, and I've already recognized that last year, and the example I said is we had 4 students from Shelbyville. The cost last year to educate someone at the Lift was $3,400. Those are facts. That includes all the tuition, that includes all of the fundraising, all of the donations. It came down to $3,400 is what it costs to educate a student here. So when you take the tuition, there's a $2,400 balance. So taxpayers paid the remaining $10,000 for those 4 Shelbyville students. So we have to look at numbers and find out what are the numbers, which is what I would like to look at today.
Yeah, I don't have access to that right now because they're also running it over there. But if you want to bring that up, we can bring that up next time.
No, I'm not bringing it up next time.
Then a heads up would have been nice in order for us to be able to do so.
Okay, so here's the standard operating procedure for me. If I want something on the agenda, it goes on the agenda Monday before the board meeting the following Tuesday, right? So I was in error and I did not put it in time because of the holiday. That's on me. So we punted to this run, correct?
We actually didn't punt. We actually followed the standard procedures that you and the board agreed to.
I agree. So we did not put it on the agenda, so we put it on the agenda tonight. I emailed you, I asked you for the.
Did you email me about this to be included in the presentation?
Okay, so let me get to that, Tim. So what I said is I want an overview of the Lift, and everyone knows that I'm concerned about the numbers and the spending. So the presentation was loaded onto the agenda, what time for today, for the lift?
I don't know that answer.
Who put the link in for the agenda?
Callie, did we do that? I mean, sometime this afternoon, because we were still updating the presentation as of today.
Yes, so as a board member, I reviewed it at 6 o'clock tonight. I got to see the lift presentation today, an hour before the board meeting. How am I to say? And it never dawned on me that you would include numbers.
And-
How are we not going to talk about numbers and budget?
That's fine. You're talking about it.
So Heidi, do you want to talk about this?
So then you want to talk about what specifically?
Hey, folks, we're not going to do that. We're trying to have a you know what? You came to listen to the board talk about issues.
You are giving the district a fiscal irresponsibility by not providing her the numbers.
Okay, we're trying to have a conversation up
Put
here.
them on the screen.
If you want to listen to it, that's fine. If you don't, you can keep yelling.
What are you hiding from?
This is just our.
Every year I post an
I want to talk about the
appropriation
lift
budget
numbers.
for
Do you
the
want to talk
district
about the
for
lift
Lincoln
numbers?
I do, but the
Why
problem
can't you
is
post it for the
that
taxpayer?
these charts that were given, no one's going to understand without seeing the chart and the budget. And even then, there's a lot of questions about it.
Okay.
So it's in an email that was sent to me.
Is this the chart you're talking about?
Yes.
7 bullet points.
And
You want me to read what?
I want them to see the chart, and I want them to see the expenses.
Ryan, can you
Because
pull
the
that
other
up? 'Cause
concern
don't
I have-
that.
Ryan,
I have I think you're talking about the chart with the 4 columns with the numbers.
It shows
there's the
the
fiscal
hours.
budget for the lift and the total breakdown of students.
Who do I see? Okay, I see that. I have that one. What's the best way to get it up?
It was
I
September 24th to 24th.
Yeah, is it in a document that you can share?
Yeah,
In the board agenda?
How about this?
I don't think I can, can we just type it?
Yeah, just forward
Or
it
just
to
forward it to
whoever
Okay.
to put it on the agenda or to put it on the screen.
Cool, please.
Is that everything we need?
There's 2 charts.
Yeah.
There's one about
it's-
numbers and one about.
Does he have both of them?
I have no
The
idea.
numbers, I'm looking for the
I
numbers.
mean, it's on one.
On mine, it's on one Excel.
I got it,
Yeah.
we're getting there,
It's just
guys.
2 separate sheets. Look down here. There's an
We're getting
enrollment, whatever number this is.
Oh, I see. Like the dollars. Is that what?
September 2nd.
I have one for 24.
Christie, do you have it?
Yep, I'm working on it.
All right,
Just
sorry.
a sec. Almost there. All right.
Thank you.
All the places? Okay. Okay, we're ready. Look back in. That's it? That's it?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
And the second one is the budget.
It's in that Excel sheet. It's just in a different sheet at the bottom. It's in the same document that John sent you, I think.
This was in an email. This is not a,
This
this
is
is
not
a document. Ryan, if you have the document and you share it with Tim, I can get it to him from his email.
In the meantime, do you want to talk about this one? Oh, I guess I have to unplug. Sorry, yeah.
Otherwise.
I shared with you, Tim.
Did you share with Jen?
I shared it with Tim, yes.
So you should have access.
And it's just an Excel
Got it.
sheet. I'm sorry, it's a Google sheet with 2 tabs at the bottom.
Yep, I see it. Okay, we're ready. Okay. This is the first chart, and then the second one we got down.
You can't speak, but that's it. All right, so I have a few questions. So this is the enrollment currently at the Lift building. And you can see that those are the number, and then I calculated the percentage of students who are Mattoon students versus out-of-town students. And the highest percentage of students from Mattoon is the leadership class. And so I mentioned this last week, like wondering, is there a certificate for trade for the leadership class? And I wasn't sure the answer to that. Is there a certificate that comes with the leadership class?
Yeah, is Jessica still here? Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, we have certifications through Franklin Covey's All Access Pass that students can earn through going through their content. We recently connected with Elevate and we're looking into some Google certifications that they could earn as well. And then through their financial program through Ramsey Education, they have a certificate.
Thank you. So the question that I have is what I went back to 21 and 22 because I wanted to be firm and understand what I was told as a board member about Lyft. I don't want to speak untruths. And so one of the communications that was from December 21st is it's talking about that the business model was to go out and create partnerships with schools, right? Because this is a business, we're going to collect revenue and we're going to market it and we're going to bring students in who are going to pay tuition to offset the costs because we'll get to the cost this year, it's $2 million for Lyft. So in order to offset that, so when you have a partnership, you're in agreement to the product you are selling, right? So the product that we're selling is $1,000. That's the tuition. Although what we agreed on or what was presented to us is it says this, December 22, it says, for the initial year 2023, per seat tuition cost should be $1,000 for Lyft. The tuition in subsequent years will reflect the expenses of the seat and each specific program. Anticipated tuition costs will tentatively be determined and communicated to the districts on December 15th, adjustments to be made. So when I asked about tuition, are we going to make the adjustments now that the cost has gone up, right? $2,400 extra. And it seems as if the question is, let's just wait and see, and we're in year 3. And I look at the numbers, and if you are teaching at the college level, a junior college, a university, and you don't make numbers, you can cancel a class, right? And when we have currently the number of students coming from Mattoon, let me just look at my percentage so I speak this accurately. 56% of the students that are in the Lyft this fall are Mattoon High School students. So these numbers, like when you look at a 1219 for one student, and I realize they get merged together, or you look at communications at 2 and a 9, does it make sense for us to be looking at the numbers and how we have students in class so that we can maybe move students? Because currently we pay an overload to the teachers and facilitators at the Lyft. So when we get to the budget slide, you're going to see that the personnel has grown substantially. So the question keeps being asked, how do we change the budget? How do we make this more effective and efficient so that we can continue Lyft and have all these amazing stories? Well, you have to be fiscally responsible. And it's taxpayer dollars. And so when we look at these numbers and we have over 50% coming from Mattoon, we have some wiggle room in how we move them. In addition to that, if the partners who are agreeing with us are paying a part of the cost, then it's not a partnership. We're giving away the product. Does that make sense? Like we're just giving the product away. All of us have seen with inflation, you've been charged more money for the product and you're paying more for that. So if we're not going to pay more for the product, then we have to examine what is partnership. And then why did we say at the beginning we're going to reassess tuition? We didn't know what it would cost to educate students here. We've never had a Lyft. That's why it's in the minutes. That's why we talked about it. So if we go to the budget, let's take a look at it. So currently the salary is $1,008,000. That is an 89% based on my numbers. So that's an increase of around 89%. I'm not sure if we've had I don't know if the RSO or security, I'm not sure if there's been a change in salary or
What's
a
an
security
RSO?
officer, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yep.
Has there been an increase in personnel, staff from last year to this year, or we have the same number of staff?
Last year is this year.
Yeah.
We haven't gone up 89%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the numbers that I have, let me just take a look.
So I think maybe,
It was 896,000, and now we're at 1
that'd be at
million.
most 20-some%, but it's,
Okay, sorry.
it's not 89%.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Would be a lot. So I think the document, maybe, we've done so many slides, I'm not sure, that one had just teacher salaries on it, just the 7 teachers. This is the whole building. So salaries would include the custodian, the paras in the daycare, the secretaries, and then all the teachers as well. So there are more salaries included in this than there were probably in the
So
one that
just
you're
to be
talking about
clear-
that has just salaries, that just had teacher salaries.
With all respect, Ryan, this is exactly why it should be in our annual budget. The fact that it was omitted from last month and not be talked about in our budget, it is not gonna fit in your box per se.
It is in our budget,
This was not broken down in the budget last
nor
month.
was Mattoon High School.
Or
This
was
is
Riddle.
this is not K-12.
So
This
help
is
me understand, how did you arrive at your 89%?
So what I did is I took the last numbers that we were shared in May, I think when we got the overview of, it was marked at that point in the slide, $896,000.
Okay.
And that makes sense if not all the salaries were included in that. I wouldn't know that all the salaries are not included. And then I looked, and this same chart is what was shared. And in that box was $896,000. So
Okay.
now it says 1,008,000, okay? Then when we go to benefits were 138,000 according to, and again, it might be low because not everybody was in there, but we're at 215,000. It was 97,000 in purchase service, and we're at 202,000. It was 69.
The difference in purchase service is, again, I think when we did the one in May, we were comparing programs from here to the high school. Is that right? And we were comparing like CT at the high school compared to here.
That's not, I used the exact same chart that you came with, but had the total numbers.
Well, the
Okay.
purchase service, I don't think the last one had the 20 fund, so the purchase service would be like electric, would be more of the utilities, I think. Without
Okay.
having them side by side, it would be hard for me to tell.
So if we go down to the bottom, it's 1.7. We agree on that?
Not the 2 million you just said.
Okay, it is 1.7 and it was 1.2 in May. The difference is the depreciation of the building, right? That number came from you.
So help me understand your concern of a depreciation of the building.
Because it's ultimately a cost. What we're
To
paying, the bonds that we pay the $14 million for here.
You want to share?
I talked to our auditor and our accountant yesterday about the, because I was, unsure of the depreciation. And he said, when you buy the building, you buy the building. That's where your costs are to pay for the building. So we did that several years ago, a few years ago. Depreciation is not included in the accounting world as a direct cost or a direct expense to the building. So he said, depreciation is an accounting term that's used, and I'm not an accountant, so I'm just relaying. Nick did say that if we had any board members that had any questions, that he would love to talk to them about it because he loves that stuff. But so the depreciation, his thing was it's not a direct cost. We've already paid on billing, and his other thing was like Humboldt School. We owned it up until 5-6 years ago, and it was beyond its depreciation, so it should have been worth $0, but we sold it. We didn't get $0 for it. It still had a value. So even though something you may depreciate it out on your depreciation schedule, the accountants may say it's depreciated down to $0, but it still has a value because you can still sell it. It's worth what somebody will pay for it. And I would say the same thing about this building, probably that, maybe it's depreciating by $250,000 on the books, but it's worth what somebody will pay for it if you went to sell it. So.
Okay, so perhaps the number that I need is what are we paying on the bond for the building?
That's, I think.
With the cost of the building, what is that per month over how many years?
We paid 1.5 million on the debt certificate this year. Now, this is not, it's not just here.
Correct.
That is the sports and the CT programs at the high school, the weight room. So it was kind of all lumped in together. I'd have to go back and look and break something down, and I can do that for you if you need me. Or if you want me to.
Because I think this conversation is this. I should know for fact what we are spending. We shouldn't be having conversation like, well, that's not the right number, this isn't it, maybe you're misunderstanding. Board members get information from the superintendent and the business manager to say, here are the costs of Lyft. This is what we are paying in our annual budget, this is the cost. The students help offset this, right? As we look at enrollment that pay tuitions, we get an ISB grant, there's other things that are gonna help offset this cost. But the actual hard numbers should be given to board members, so there's no question. How can we be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers if we don't even know?
According to our financial audit, though, we are fiscally responsible. Every year, we have our accountant who goes line by line, who has told us the district is fiscally responsible. That's what I recall. Is that what everybody else recalls?
Well, I think our budget is one of the higher ones in the area. I mean, even with similar sized schools.
Yeah, but we're one of the higher populations in the area as well.
I think the question is, John, how we use our money is the question on the table. We, as a district.
We gotta get away from this $1,000 number, because the $1,000 is actually a $2,000, because they pay $2,000 per school year. They don't pay $1,000, they pay that per semester. They pay $2,000. So the $1,000 number is a fallacy to begin with. They're paying $2,000.
If you take the fall numbers and everyone out of state, out of district is 1,000 per student per enrollment. And then you take the spring numbers and you do the exact same
But
thing.
it's a static number. That number still exists regardless if we take away the out-of-town students. That number still exists if we add 60 more Mattoon kids. That number stays static. It doesn't change from one to another. If the out-of-town students stop coming, we lose their $1,000 per semester. The 1.665 stays the same. That's still our teacher salaries. That's still our janitor. That's still our secretary, pairs, whatever.
So what I want you to ask, John, I want you to ask all these taxpayers and say, we have a $1.7 million budget. Are you okay with having a second high school in Mattoon with a declining population?
No.
That's what this is.
Okay.
If you fill it with Mattoon kids, now we have 2 high schools. And are we okay with that?
We have a vocational school. We have a vocational school based upon what that lady said tonight. We have a vocational school. That's what we have.
So can we, I want to go back to the numbers. I have listened carefully to your expressions of concern, and in particular, your division of the annual operating costs for Lyft by the number of students are there. And as I understand what you've said is that changes the cost for the taxpayers. Okay, it doesn't. That's the cost for the taxpayers. That's the cost for the taxpayers, whether there are 50 kids, 15 kids, or 450 kids going to Lyft. That's the number. Now we can argue, should this number be higher or lower? Or do you want to cut along here or do all that stuff? We can have that conversation. But that's the number. The only issue for us relative to other districts in the area is, and I've done a little checking around, we are the only school district in the region that has a CTE vocational education program that draws students from other districts and draws the other districts from which they're coming, brings their money with them. So while we still have that cost, we have a revenue stream that helps offset that. And it's $2,000 per kid. And the higher that goes, the higher that revenue stream is. And the net impact is lower for all these people. Now, that's my view. You have a different view. I appreciate that. We have talked about this, I think, on and off for 3, 4, 5 months. What do you want to change? What do you want to, and that's a sincere question. What number here do you want to change? Do you want to change the tuition number to make sure, in your words, that the out-of-district kids are not being subsidized? What do you want to do?
So there's a few things.
Okay.
I think that 1.7, we run a business. So the goal of this entire business plan was to offset the cost for the taxpayers. And so we either have to look at what is partnership, right? Like we made Charleston really angry with this deal. And so they have less kids coming because we excluded them from the agreement. They were all in on doing a CTE or a LIFT program together until it became just ours. So some districts we've alienated, and so some of them are not
That's
coming.
not accurate, though.
Boy, that's just not accurate.
Go ahead, share,
Okay.
share what you think is accurate.
Okay, so my concern is the partnerships need to help offset the taxpayers'
So
responsibility.
no, specifically to what you're saying about the neighboring school district.
So my concern is that the goal was that you guys were gonna partner together with a CTE program that was gonna be centrally located, and we were gonna partner. And then when the lift came, or this building became, it became your own project.
It became my own project? No.
Met to the
Like,
school district. Like, let's not play semantics.
I'm not playing semantics. I'm just asking you the questions. You made the statement,
Yes.
and that's not accurate to my knowledge. Like,
Okay.
but if you believe that's the case, then I would be happy to reach out to our friends in Charleston and help carry the bridge, cover the bridge of why you believe that, and it may not be being conveyed.
Well,
Because I don't believe that that's accurate. So just to be clear, like they also have an opportunity to sign the intergovernmental agreement, which they have, and their board has approved, like the 16 others that have already done so. So just for the public, so they're understanding this, what Dr. Larson just shared was not accurate.
So Charleston is sending kids here?
We can.
They are?
I have Charleston students. in
Oh, really?
We
Okay.
can agree to disagree.
That Charleston kids are coming here?
No, that yes, they're coming.
Okay, when you said you disagree, I didn't know what.
So my question is, if we had a tuition set that we were gonna analyze, that we're not doing, and what is the goal of the MOU and the partnership if they're not going to carry the cost of their students? What is the benefit of that if we're gonna say, you come in and spend $1,000, when we know that the cost to educate those students far exceeds $1,000?
Well, wait. It doesn't. It's $2,000 a year, and it doesn't change because that's the cost right there. That's the cost right there. The only question is whether or not we alter the revenue stream that's been created by bringing students from other districts which other districts don't do. And whether or not we increase that revenue stream to help offset that cost. That's the only issue here. And so I'm going to go back to, what do you want to do? Do you want to raise the tuition? Do you want to, you've got this number of 4,800, they're paying 2,000 a year. Do you want to raise the tuition by 2,800 a year?
We can, can we?
I'm just asking, I'm just trying to, we've been talking about this for months.
And you've ignored it.
And let's put it, I'm entertaining them, What is it? I'm just asking I'm just asking for a solution.
Okay, let me make this clear. Okay, here's the concern. Are you ready? Here's the concern. It is not delivered to the board unless I ask for it. That's problem number one, right? It doesn't even show up on an agenda and overviewed so we can fix a problem unless I put it on the agenda.
The problem, you used the word problem. I think that's what we can all agree on. You think there's a problem.
I do.
Okay, and we're talking about it, right? So
Yes.
so we can all take a breath here. We can talk about this. We're sitting in the building that we're talking about. Let's just take a breath and we can talk about this. Dr. Larson, I agree with Dale's question. Is your idea to make it fair to the Mattoon taxpayer to adjust the tuition that we charge for out-of-district students yearly based on the amount of students we have to make sure that they are offsetting the divider that you are suggesting? Is that what you would like to see happen with this program?
It is an option, Jake. And
Okay.
do you think taxpayers should pay the difference?
I'm wrestling with that, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm still thinking about it. But I think the success stories, and I think Mattoon being the premier place to be for vocational agriculture in the region is something that's deeply important to me. And, I pay taxes, and there's an argument to be had about, paying to help supplement out-of-district students. I can hear that argument. Personally, I think it's worth it. And I think that this program is worth it. And I think the people that have invested into it have made it that way. I'm interested in your proposal. If you feel differently, I'm interested in what your idea or your motion or however we need to go about this, what would it be? Because as I hear you, describing your problems with it, I think that's the solution that in my mind would solve your problem. So you take the number of students, Mattoon out of district, you figure that up a year, you find that bottom right-hand number, or you can add your 250 to it if
Whatever the number is,
divider.
I think that's part of the cost, right?
So then that's going to change the tuition based on the year. It's going to change every year, and it's going to raise or low. In the short term, it's going to raise it, and I think it's going to raise it by a good bit. And I think to Mr. Compton's point about the seedling being small, I think raising tuition to $3,400 is basically like taking a 5-gallon bucket of Roundup and pouring it on that plant. And I think it's going to kill this program, and I don't want to be complicit in that. So that's just.
So then my question is, how do we fix the 1.7? Did
Fix
we
it,
expect?
Fix what?
The overall operating costs. What's the return on investment, and how do we fix?
Educating children to be successful in the world.
Educating our kids in proficiency in math.
The outcome is educating our kids and making them world ready to go into vocational careers.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, these two board members are trying to have a conversation. It's a board meeting. These two board members are trying to have a conversation. Okay?
You guys aren't conversating. You've done this for 3 meetings now. I watched this back and forth, back and forth. It's not a board meeting. It's a child's argument.
Okay, so the other issue I have is that this fall, we have 258 kids. Let's say we double it. Let's say we have 510 kids that come to the lift for 1.7 million. Subtracting off tuition, grants, other expenses. And you are absolutely right that this is the left hand, right? The lift and the cost. The right hand is this. How are we educating the K-12 kids with the other money when we are struggling academically? So if we can offset some of the 1.7, we take those resources to K-12 and we help kids who need assistance with math, special ed, English, all the other things that are not obviously effective at this very point. So as much, Jake, as I'm all in for educating kids, that's why I'm advocating to talk about this. That you have to look at the bottom number, you have to look at the number of kids you are serving, and how much of the pie of 53 million this year are you willing to give to, say, 500 or 600 students, and what happens to the rest of the students?
Well, I think so I don't share this story very often. IEP, special education, extra time on test scores, poor ACT score, you name it, bad grades. I was one of those kids that matched that statistic, that I was not probably competent 2 weeks prior to me going to college. Barely got into a junior college, okay? Had to go for 2 weeks to a remedial program before the school year started to make sure that I would test out on remedial programs or not. I graduated college with a 3.5 GPA after being a statistic on this board that I was a failure. Okay? I was a failure on this board. Okay? I don't consider myself a failure. I had it, guys, I'm telling you, I'm not lying about this. I had the IEP. I had it all. Okay? I look at these numbers a little bit differently. And Angela, I appreciate your comment tonight. Okay? We need to do a better job of getting along. This infighting is not working. Okay? We are here for the children of this district. And what Mr. Bartlett said earlier is there are kids coming from these programs that are helping Mattoon grow into a bigger city. I think he said at least 2, maybe 4, I don't recall the exact number, of Shelbyville kids that are coming over that were in Lift that are going to be building solar panels basically behind the police department's range. Okay? So, don't get me wrong. I want the test scores to be better, and what Miss Odell said, Mrs. Odell, I'm sorry if I get your marital status incorrect, but you had to take your kid to the U of I to get a math tutor. We're having trouble getting math teachers. It's obvious. By her own account, she couldn't get it at Eastern. She couldn't get it at Lakeland. She couldn't get it at Metro. We're struggling to find these people. I fully believe that Tim, Christy, the teachers of this district are doing the absolute best they can. And gosh, I want the test scores to be up. Don't get me wrong. I want the test scores to be up. But if we just look at it in this little circle of like, well, that kid's a failure because he's part of this, 90% or whatever. I'm the 90%. And I'm doing just fine. Totally fine. And we need to stop looking at it as, are they in the 90 or are they in the 10? Okay. I want the test scores to be 20, 30, 40. I want it to keep going up. But at the same time, like, there's kids in this grouping that are going to be just fine. And I'm on social media. I don't see parents complaining about their kids dropping out in mass hordes in college. Does anybody else see that? Because I don't. I don't see mass hordes of college or Mattoon graduates being like, well, I dropped out because whatever. I don't see it.
I think what I have I think this is kind of what Angela was talking about. None of these views are wrong. I mean, LIFT is a wonderful program, excellent program. It is an expensive program. Community members, I know there are many who go, I'm paying so much in my property taxes now, I can't afford this stuff anymore. So I think all of these discussions are very, very good. I was not here when LIFT was approved, but I remember reading it in the newspaper going, wow, that's a lot of money, as a taxpayer, because I was looking at it as a taxpayer then rather than a board member. But so we have LIFT right now. I agree with Heidi. We do need numbers. I mean, we need more information. We need to be able to talk about these things. And she shouldn't be ostracized because we want to talk about these things and work through it. It's my understanding it's a 3 to 5 year that we're looking at it for 3 to 5 years, and then we were going to reassess. Is that what you said at the last meeting? And we're at year 3 now. So, I mean, we're going to have to reassess because we're going to determine if it proceeds or not, I guess, as a board. So I think, like I said, all of these discussions are good. And I think the community is also sharing their viewpoints on a lot of the things as well. And it's something we're all going to have to work around.
So here's my proposal. I think we have all the real numbers, put in the bonds or whatever we're paying per month. You can estimate that, Ryan. So we have an actual cost of what we pay. And I would like to see the school district, the administration team, Tim, you and your team, and you come and provide a proposal for us. You give a proposal to the board. How are we going to look at these numbers and what's the plan with regards to tuition costs, et cetera?
I would suggest that the administration plan is what a majority of the board has supported.
So we're going to move forward with it.
And that's what we have now. You want to talk about your differences of opinion with what a majority of the board has agreed to, and that's fine, and that's what we've been doing. My point simply is that at some point, a solution about what should change should be offered up, in fairness.
And when does that happen?
I hope at some point. I mean, otherwise we're just talking and yeah, right. And as opposed to offering up solutions. I mean, whether it's cutting the salaries in here or the purchase services or doing whatever to reduce that number, whatever you might have in mind. But in all seriousness, at some point, if you're going to suggest a change, I would welcome hearing that.
So,
I mean, Tim, right, I guess I see it like that their team has submitted what they feel is the right way to go about it, as far as Lyft, as far as the business, as far as charging a certain amount of tuition, like it's presented to us. You know, the way it is the way that it's been presented and the way that McLean and his team's been running it and operating it. So now it's kind of on us. If we as a board feel that we need to change something as far as the number goes, then we need to talk about a proposal and talk about ideas if you have ideas that you want to change, right?
Okay, here's the problem that I have, my limited view. I don't know what is in purchase service. I don't honestly know what could be cut. I don't know if there's things like, can some of that? I don't understand in supplies. We're spending $185,000. I know in my home, we make cuts, right? I know at Eastern, you have a budget and you're like, hey, we have to reduce the budget by 10%. As a farmer, you have to make cuts. So the question at the table is the board okay with a $1.7 million budget for the year? Are we gonna go and examine the tuition, so by December 15th, which is what's in the minutes, to say that we let school districts know? Or are we just gonna let this ride and just see what happens year 3?
It's $52 million budget, right? 52, 53.
It's been misspoken all night. It's 50.
Oh, it's 50.
And I know 50 is a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it's not 53, it's not 52. It's just over 50 million.
Okay, thank you.
And it was approved at the September board meeting, and so was that number. And I mean,
so we're talking.
This is
about
tough for me because I don't know
2%.
when I'm supposed to talk and not when I'm supposed to talk. I'm not a board member, so I mean, this can be broken down as far as you want it to go. We approved a budget last month. That is what ISB asked us to approve, and it's the form that ISB uses, and it's the form that every school district in the state uses to approve a budget. And every person in my position that I've talked to, and I talk to a lot of them a lot of the time, they do what we did for the budget, okay? And I apologize if I messed up the budget hearing. It'll never happen again, but it'll be right going forward. But this is the budget we have. So my job is to take what the board has decided to have a Lyft building and put together a budget that funds the building that the board has approved to have, okay? And that's what this is. This is a budget that pays the bills. We can break up purchase service so you can see each one of them individually. We can break up supplies so you can see each of them. McLean has a building budget that's broken up by floor that he looks at and that he uses for certifications and certificates. So this can be broken up as much as you want it to be broken up. I just need the direction on when to do it and what to do. And like I said, I think anything you've ever asked for, I've given to anyone on this board. I'm just not talking to you, but anybody on this board, I've tried to be as transparent as I can with the budget. I mean, it's on our district website. Anybody can look at it anytime. But this is the budget for this year. And I think what you're talking about on the December with the tuition, that would be for fiscal year 26. We have to honor this budget. We approved it last month. We have to honor this budget throughout the rest of this fiscal year. And then changes can be made by the board going forward. I'll always come up with a budget to pay for what the board and what the district sees that we need to have. And that's what this is right here.
So a change in tuition wouldn't be possible on December 15th? Am I understanding that right?
My understanding is for the next school year.
But we're still looking at like overall Lyft is 4% or less.
3.4
of the total.
Of the total budget.
Yeah. So
Just
I mean,
double it. Yeah. 3.3.
I mean, if we're looking at that number, I mean, we're not really looking at a lot. I mean, would you agree with that? I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
We're looking at 258 students this fall. That's not looking at a lot. I mean, it's all relative, right?
Right, because it's a growth of 150%. So to me, 258 is like, yes, right? To your point, it is all relative. I mean, 150% growth. You used a farming example. You give me 150% growth, in a business setting. That is huge. That is almost unbelievable, right? So that number is growing, and it's a good thing.
Well, just to remind you, last fall we had 181, this year we have 258. And so it has grown, but I want to remind you that it's grown with a lot of Mattoon kids. So it doesn't change the tuition, right? So it doesn't change the cost.
But it's Mattoon kids that have decided to come here for their electives.
Yes.
And we still have to offer electives.
Yes.
So they're choosing to come, no one's forcing them into this building. They're choosing to come. And are we okay taking that away? No. That, at the end of the day, that's what the question is, right? And I'm not okay.
I think fundamentally it was sold as a business model. And it was sold that it wouldn't be on the backs of taxpayer dollars. And I'm raising the question that we need to look at it and understand what is our goal moving forward? Are we okay with a 1.7 budget? And if we are going to do something for 25, 26, is it gonna happen this December 15th? Because that's gonna be in 2 months, right? So we need to think about, are we gonna examine tuition? Are we gonna look at that?
I never saw it as a business model though, because none of our other buildings, you know, if we were a business model, everybody loses money. Every building here in the school district, if it's a business model, loses.
John, the minute you took tuition, it's a business. We don't charge students in public education tuition.
Students at Eastern don't pay tuition?
K-12, Dale.
Oh, well, okay, so it is, right, it's a creative model that was put in place by a majority of the board in order to add a revenue stream to help offset the costs.
Yes, that's called a business.
We could, no, it's not. It's called charging tuition to out-of-district students. It's not called a business. Okay, it's not called, I mean, now I wasn't here when we started this. Who said it would be a business and who said the taxpayers wouldn't pay anything for it?
What was sold to the community is this is a business model because we're going to collect taxes or collect tuition to offset the taxes or the 1.7 so that property tax owners, taxpayers weren't going to fund specifically out-of-town students.
So that specific commitment was made that out-of-town students would not be subsidized to any degree whatsoever.
I didn't say any degree.
Well, yeah, you did. You said that the taxpayers wouldn't pay anything for out-of-district students. That's a zero. Who said that?
We have it. I promise you, I have something to allude to the fact that it said we are not going to charge taxpayers. And at this point, that is what's happening. And I fundamentally have a disagreement with it. If the board as a totality, the majority of the board says we're going to move forward with the 1.7 and we're going to continue and
I think we have to follow through with 1.7 because we've already approved it.
Okay, so is it possible, Ryan, that when you approve a budget of 1.7, you may not spend all of it, or that you could reduce the costs that are allocated?
We always amend it. We always amend it on June 30th, but I mean, you know, teachers with contracts.
No, I'm not saying like we would mess with teachers' contract or something, but is there things in there that potentially we
Oh,
would?
we always, I mean, we have buildings come in under budget all the time. And we have buildings come in over budget. You know, it just depends on what happens at the building during that year. And the boiler goes down or whatever. But so it's fluid. Yeah, it could come in under 1.6 million. That's the budget. And when we talked about the budget, we do revenues conservatively and we do expenses aggressively, and to give ourselves a little bit of a cushion because nobody wants a deficit budget when we get to June. So we want to be responsible with the budget we have. So.
Which to John's point earlier, you have, which makes something like LIFT possible, which makes it possible to spend 1.6, 1.72, whatever number we all want to say. Ryan and his team surrounding him has remained.
Hear you.
Sorry, I'm sorry. The business manager, Ryan, and his team have remained financially responsible by keeping roughly 155 days of cash on hand, which makes it possible for this school district to spend roughly $1.7 million on something like LIFT to provide those opportunities to the students in this community and surrounding communities while remaining respectful to the budget and to the funds that the school district gets to operate with every year. Ryan and his team have done that, in a responsible way, in a way that keeps us in the black, and they will continue to do so as long as we employ them, because they're good at their job and they do what is asked of them, and they're the reason that something like this can exist and that we can invest $1.7 million into vocational agriculture for not only our students here in this community, but the surrounding communities, which will inevitably help us as a community in the future.
Great. Heidi has advised me she has nothing else. I'm going to let Mr. Uphoff have the closing statement on this discussion. I'm going to let Mr. Uphoff have the closing statement on the discussion. Heidi's advised me she doesn't have anything else. We are going to move on. Item 6.2.
Item 6.2 is recognition for our principals, assistant principals, and deans. And as of Friday, October 25th, is deemed National Principals Day. And would just like to take an opportunity to thank all of our administrative team for all the work that you put forth, and on a daily basis working with students to accomplish the goals that we have and this board has. So if you join me in congratulating them. And before I move on, and I guess Deb, before you continue down the agenda, I just want to address, I appreciate the conversations and questions that I've received and our team has received over the last couple of days. So I just wanted to share some public facts in regards to some recent questions that I've received. So those facts surround a video Dr. Larson has apparently recently provided. So first, the administration did not initiate a review of Bionic on their own volition. As the board is aware, a board member reached out in an email on March 13th asking for additional information surrounding Bionic. After researching information in the initial email, I responded and shared an email with the entire board on April 11th, indicating that information that we had and the discussion between Dr. Larson and the MHS staff, stating it had been 10 years since a needs assessment of Bionic had been conducted. And in addition, I shared in that email that a program review would be conducted. The request asked for any additional data collected over the duration of Bionic's program and why MHS did not have access to that data. And if it could simply be asked and be shared with the school district and the board. The district, secondly, the district only reached out to Dr. Larson's department after her direction. Following the request for information, I emailed Dr. Larson on April 11th, again on April 26th, again on May 3rd, and again on May 10th, seeking the best way to gain any Bionic data that had been collected. Dr. Larson responded that she was communicating with EIU legal counsel on April 28th and May 4th, and would be in contact when she had information to share. At the conclusion of the correspondence, Dr. Larson requested I reach out to legal counsel, EIU's legal counsel, because, and I quote, to avoid blurring the lines between my role as a member of the board and as an employee of EIU. I shared my appreciation and informed Dr. Larson the district's legal counsel would reach out to move forward with providing the data to the school district and to the board. Third, Dr. Larson was surveying students without consent, a violation of board policy 7.15. On May 14th, I received an email from staff that Dr. Larson was requesting to survey and interview students. We had not been previously notified and no written request or permission was received. I sent Dr. Larson an email on May 15th, sharing board policy 7.15 and my concerns of compliance, which requires surveys from a third party to be approved in advance by the district and parental notification made for the purpose of opting out. Bionic is defined as a third party because it is overseen directly by an outside entity, which is EIU or Dr. Larson, and not an employee of our district. Additionally, in that email to Dr. Larson, I shared I would inform the Eastern Illinois University Dean of Education of our intent to request this information, as well as the requirements of partners as they relate to surveying or accessing MCUSD 2 students, per the board policy and the agreement with EIU. We were unaware, and most importantly, parents were unaware of data being collected and how that data would be used, even though Dr. Larson had previous research requests that indicated knowledge of proper procedure. The data was collected without proper notification, and the results were not provided in an expedited fashion, but instead withheld until legal interference. It is my recommendation that the board allow the administration to complete the program review and share the results in an upcoming meeting when it is on the board agenda to discuss. Finally, I am not aware of the fiscal viability of Bionic, or if it is no longer going to be available. Bionic is overseen by Dr. Larson and EIU, and neither have provided me or the district notice of the program's future. The school district purchases a service from EIU, overseen by Dr. Larson, of counseling interns. What EIU decides to do with additional funding of the program is outside our control and beyond the business of this board. And again, I would appreciate that everyone that reached out to ask those questions. I hope this offers some clarity for you, and thank you.
I would like an opportunity to respond. Is that? Okay.
Sure.
So I think what you just read, Tim, is very misleading.
It's factual.
Okay. So the email came, rightfully so. Erica has been a keyboard warrior for over a year, asking lots of Bionic questions with the support of Dale Ryder. So the questions continue to come, and then April 15th, I don't know who answered the questions prior to April 15th. I was never told who was answering that. That was Mr. Stewart, if that was the counselors, et cetera, et cetera. But there were a lot of questions. Not as many questions have been asked about Leader and me. Not as many questions have been asked about 1.7. But I will tell you, the number of questions asked about Bionic have been unbelievable. Okay? So the question came on April 15th and said, good afternoon, Heidi. We would like some more information from you. If you could provide the survey instrument, the data gathered for Bionic from 13 to today, and additionally, the outcomes expected for Bionic interns, the curriculum used, parental consent, and the survey. I emailed Tim Condren back and I said, it's going to take me some time to get 10 years of data, but I will work on that. I sent him the contract that is signed every semester from EIU to Mr. Stewart about the interns. It is a legal contract. What the contract states is, here's Mattoon High School's responsibility, here's EIU's responsibility, and here's what the intern's responsibility. It is black and white. I'm in 26 school districts. It is clear, and we've had zero issues with the contract. I sent him the contract. I said I would collect the data, and I said at this point, we do not have informed consent from freshmen to fill out. Mentors, their parents consent because there are expectations of mentors. But freshmen, they don't consent. The reason why is because the data was collected to improve the program, right? So that's why we wanted to. I started the program with Michelle Sinclair. I met with Michelle Sinclair. And I said to Michelle, can you tell me, why didn't we ever send consent forms? 11 years ago, why didn't we do that? I had no idea about this 7.15, right? I'm not on the board. I don't have kids in the district. I'm a mom. I'm a mom who volunteers at Mattoon High School, and I'm a volunteer at Eastern. I get $0 for doing 11 years of work. And she said, it was a Mattoon program. We wouldn't have consent forms. And I was like, okay, so I feel valid, right? I'm not making stuff up. I'm not trying not to follow rules. I'm not trying to do things that were expected that I just were negligent on. So then the emails continue. And the next one comes that, thank you for the information. We understand additional time for the collection of the data. We also appreciate the copy contract. Could you provide some other corresponding information, including your course syllabus for Bionic? Every public educator understands what a syllabus is. A syllabus is proprietary information. It is not. It doesn't have anything to do with Bionic. Bionic is not a class. So I was like, oh my gosh, where are we going with all of these demands of information? And I was advised as an EIU professor, you better go get legal counsel. Right? I got 2 lawyers on the board and we have Brandon Wright. So I went to the lawyer and I sat down and I said, Austin, I need your help. Here's the situation. It's really convoluted. I'm a mom, I'm a board member, and I'm a volunteer. And I'm trying to serve kids because I love Bionic. And I genuinely think I have changed Mattoon's culture with my heart and the heart of servants of 16 and 17-year-olds. Is it a perfect program? No. Do 16 and 17-year-olds know how to lead? No. But I will tell you, it is volunteer. Students volunteer. What true volunteerism? Before, after school, giving up lunch. They also are trying to become better leaders. So Austin says, it took him 2.5 weeks. He's like, I'm going to have to do research. Totally understand. He doesn't have these many questions from professors because this is a weird situation. His recommendation is to contact Mattoon School District and say, the best way to do this is just to FOIA what they want. They can FOIA the information and the data, the instruments, all the information. Now, Mr. Condren misled you last month because I asked if he FOIA'd EIU, and he said no. And then he asked, I said, did Brandon Wright FOIA EIU? And he said, not to my knowledge. Do you know that Mattoon School District got the information, but they had to get it through FOIA? You know who filled the FOIA? I filled the FOIA for Mattoon School District.
There was never a FOIA request.
I have evidence. I'll post it on the link and I'll show you the research, the receipts.
That would be great because I did not sign off on a FOIA request and nor did Brandon Wright.
Okay.
So it may be how Eastern's chosen to respond to the request.
I will give you the evidence that it is FOIA.
Okay.
Okay. So.
That it's been chosen by Eastern to fulfill it like a FOIA. Is that accurate?
No, the documents would not be released if you didn't FOIA them, Tim. That is what EIU legal counsel, I mean, we're going to get into the weeds here. EIU said you can have whatever you want, but you will FOIA the data that you are requesting.
So, okay, then that's something that the board will need to talk with Brandon about because I forwarded the email that you said that I suggest that you be in lead, and I shared with you what I did with that information.
I have the emails, I FOIA'd them, and I have the emails between Brandon Wright and the EIU legal counsel that says it was treated as a FOIA.
But we shouldn't have to FOIA student information from our data from our students.
Tim, you're asking for a lot more things, including my syllabus. You know what a syllabus is. The problem is the administration team, since Michelle Sinclair has left, is not as invested and involved in Bionic. That's why we have all these questions. That's why the information isn't known. For example, I host a training at Eastern Illinois University in the summer. Do you want to know how many Mattoon staff come to the training that their students are at Eastern for the whole day? Do you know how many times the Mattoon staff meets with me? We have meetings. We used to have teachers attend the monthly meetings so they knew what happened in their classrooms. And you know what? Then I could get feedback from the teachers. I asked, I said, can I have a meeting with the teachers? And I was told no last spring. I said, can I have a survey and send it to Mattoon teachers so they can give me data so I know what's working? They're the eyes in the classroom. I was told they're overwhelmed with surveys. So as I try to get feedback to improve the program, and I met with every administrator in that high school. In May, June, I have to look at my Google Calendar. And I said, we have a challenge with the tutoring team. The tutoring team is inefficient. Why? Because kids are being punished to go to tutor during lunch, for lunch and learn. And they think tutoring is like bad and they don't want to go. But I have free volunteers. There are juniors and seniors who want to tutor kids to help them. So I said, we need to redefine it. We need to organize it. I got nothing. I'm reaching out to get an evaluation of the program and help.
Which is not a Mattoon program, correct?
Oh, it's a Mattoon program.
It is not because it's never been board approved.
What are you saying?
What do you mean? What am I saying? It's not a Mattoon program, or we would have that data.
The
Like,
data
it's
is
your program. It's Eastern's program.
It is not Eastern's program, Tim.
Then whose program is it?
It is absolutely a Mattoon program. Let me ask you this. Let's think about Sarah Bush, okay? Sarah Bush decides they're going to come into Mattoon High School, and they're going to do a program. I wonder if Sarah Bush has a homecoming rep. Does Sarah Bush have somebody who's in the yearbook? Maybe Sarah Bush would be on every 9th grade schedule. as an outside program. You know what? Maybe Sarah Bush would have an internal budget because all of the money for Bionic came from a Mattoon school account.
Heidi, I'm sorry, can we just talk about Bionic and?
No, I'm proving that it's.
I understand, but I have
I'm not finished. You'll have to wait. So how about if we look at, does Sarah Bush get to use Mattoon school buses? Does Sarah Bush get to be on Mattoon social media? If we're going to change the game on year 10 and say, you know what? Actually, you're not a Mattoon school program, so we're going to move the goalpost. You think I'm going to fail? I'm absolutely going to fail. When you change the game. And Mr. Condren has been here the entire time in an administrative role since the inception of Bionic. I came to the board meeting. I know. Nothing is happening at Mattoon High School without this administrative team knowing it. That is a fact. So we have been considered a Mattoon school program. If you want to change the game, I'll tell you I used your copier to make surveys in 2013, and Michelle Sinclair watched me hand them out and collect the data, and we talked about the data. Because you know what we wanted from freshmen? How can we improve this? How do we make it so it doesn't feel boring and that we can spice it up? And you know what we do at the training? I have all the mentors and they come together and I said, let's look at curriculum. What would you change? How can we make things better? How do we help kids? Because they know best. We are evaluating the program. If anyone asked me and said, Dr. Larson, we'd like to evaluate the program, I would welcome involvement in my program. I would welcome the program that we run at Mattoon High School because it feels lonely to have my students and myself run the program when the administrators have stake in this, right? They should be involved. So the email correspondence ended with the whole idea of that you can FOIA whatever data you wanted. Now, the question was, when the data was received, was it shared with the board?
No, it's not been shared with the board because we're still reviewing it. I mean, we're happy to, but if you want to put it into context for the board when we share that, we would appreciate that as well.
I'm sure you would.
What does that mean?
So you need to resign.
What does that mean, Heidi? I'm sure I would.
Well, I'm sure you would, after year 10, want me to help you understand about Bionic.
I'm asking the data that you've collected
Yes.
and how you've used that to assist our administration and our team to improve opportunities for our students as a third party, because you just said it was your program.
It's not a third party. I'm sorry I said that. Bionic is super important to me.
And I agree. I agree it is super important to you. It's super important to many of our students. But it needs to be effective.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
You know what I should do? I should probably have 10 mentors come in and share like they did this evening, right? And share all the great things that they've done. And maybe you could see it's effective.
You have done that.
When have you had mentors here?
You've had Bionic interns at.
Yeah, the
multiple
interns run
meetings.
the program.
I understand that. The board purchases that service.
You pay a school, this is the other part that you mislead and others on the board. Let me explain the payment, okay? Every social worker, every school site intern is paid. The school counseling interns have never been paid. And by the grace of God, somebody advocated on their behalf. And now they are paid like other interns in the district. Because they spend 20 hours a week at Mattoon High School. On average, 2 hours are in Bionic. Do you know what they do the rest of the time? They are providing individual counseling. They are making DCFS calls. They are making SAS calls for kids that are assessed to go to Sarah Bush because they're hurting themselves. They have groups. They have educational requirements that they have to fulfill at Mattoon High School that far exceeds what Bionic is. And that is why they are in the district, and that is why they are paid. Because they are clinical interns that are doing important work. Yes, Bionic is part of that. And in other districts, they have other things that they do. They run an after-school program. Each school district has their own unique thing that interns do. At Mattoon, they've helped. And why are they there? Let me tell you why they are there. Because when I met with Michelle Sinclair, I said, I want this program. It's super important. I see how it's changing lives. And she said, I've always wanted a mentoring program. And I said, I will not tax. I will not overtax your counselors. I will not overtax your staff. I want to provide the personnel to help with the service, with the program, so it can be successful. That's why they came. But Tim Condren, you crossed the line. Let me pull it up here.
Do we have any counselors at the high school?
Say it again.
Do we have any counselors at the high school?
Wait.
I know my daughter has to see one regular.
We have 3, full-time school counselors. So the decision for me to no longer volunteer for Bionic, I cannot tell you how difficult that is. It became important to me. I'm not from Mattoon. I don't have the same loyalty you all have, but this is my kid's hometown. And I decided when I was granted a sabbatical, I wanted to change lives. My colleagues in the Ivy Tower sometimes don't do that, right? They go on a travel, they write a book, but to me, I wanted something meaningful. I wanted to change. So that is why I started Bionic. And you know what happened? People were asking about it. People wanted the program, right? And so we started going. Michelle's idea. We went to Rotary. You know why we went to Rotary and we presented on Bionic? Because they gave a donation so they could fund the program. You know why we went to Exchange Club? So they could hear about young leaders. And you know what they said to me? Heidi, they're filling out the scholarship, and we don't even know what this program is. Can you tell us? But they all have it. You know what I heard from a Rotarian? The students of the month, most of them are involved in Bionic. That's why we share it with the community. And you want to call it research? You want to go, yes. And at the state level, people are like, what are you doing? And guess what? This young man who said he grew in his communication and personal skills, I got 5 students, 2 of them are here tonight, that give everything to Mattoon High School students. And they have an opportunity to share what their work is. And that's important for them. That's their personal professional development. And you know what? They go on and do great things. And Eastern Illinois University liked it so much. They were so impressed with what we were doing in Mattoon. They said, come to EIU and do the same thing for us. Help us with retention. Help us with low-income students. Help us provide support. And we did that. We didn't know it was going to be COVID. We launched it in the fall of 2020. And they are so behind Mattoon Bionic program that they actually award scholarship money to students. Last year, 5 students received a $1,000 scholarship. This year, so far, 2 students. Let me tell you the complete embarrassment and shame and distaste that I have, that I'm explaining to my administration at my employment, that this administrator, Tim Condren, emailed not my boss. Oh no, not my boss. He decided to email my boss's boss. And guess what? I'm not the only one. Other women have come forward and shared with me that administration has contacted their employers because they had opposing views. So the email was to my dean saying that I violated the 7.15 policy and that he's concerned about our partnership. And so I wasn't courtesy copied on the email. No. I didn't get the email he sent to my boss's boss. So I had to FOIA EIU to get the email that he sent about me. Yes, this is facts. I will put all of this in the comment. I will give you a copy of the email. I will let you see all of it. So.
It's also in the FOIA that you described, right?
Oh, yes, I have it.
Okay.
I'll put it on there. Absolutely.
Because I'm happy to share that with you. It's not a secret.
Oh, no, you didn't share it with me.
Yeah.
Now you will.
Yeah, I informed you that I was going to do that.
Oh, yeah, but you didn't copy me on it.
Yeah, you didn't ask me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't ask that you were going to copy inform my boss's boss, and I forgot to tell you to copy me on it. Okay. So.
But you knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. You weren't blindsided. You knew it was gonna happen.
Yes. So on Tuesday, the day of the board meeting, on Tuesday in May, I messaged Tim Condren and I said, here's the answer to the lawyer about the FOIA. It is suspect that Wednesday morning, he emailed my boss's boss. Maybe it's coincidental, but within 24 hours of understanding that they have to now FOIA material, my boss's boss. So the straw that broke the camel's back is that I write grants at EIU with my students to provide money. because it costs money to train the students at EIU, and there's a cost to doing that. But I want them to come to EIU's campus, and you know what? My administration there wants them to come. So every year I ask for a support letter. It's really brief. It's just, hey, we're glad we partner. It shows evidence that we're working together. And when Mr. Stewart came on board, I gave him a copy of Michelle's letter and I said, this is what it looks like. If you could write something similar, here's a sample, I would like it. So he's done that every year. This year, the tone of the letter has changed significantly. Not only did the letter have 2 errors in it, because he said we had 4 interns, and then he puts in the stipend that they are paid, but he writes for the school year. And I said, no, they're paid over 12 months. They're made, this payment, the stipend is for 12 months. And I said, could you please correct that? And I said, the tone of the letter doesn't look like you support Bionic. Please advise. You made a correction, Mr. Stewart, and you changed it to 5 interns. Nothing else was changed. And he said, I think this is very supportive. And to me, it was one of the most disrespectful things you've done to me. And I'm not going to beg to volunteer to help families and students and be treated this way.
I'm sorry. So I am not Erica, keyboard warrior. I am Erica C. Weaver. I did ask a question. We all ask questions. It's no purpose in me asking the same questions about the same program if another member is already doing that. There are, even in that whole description, there are things that are overlapping and they're not clear. So I did ask questions. I asked questions as a mother, as an educator, and as a JD. And I didn't get the answers. I didn't get the information. And when we talked about it in this board meeting, I have said, would you present that? You said you'd be happy to, but we never got it. So I'm going to explain why I had more questions. Because it's not because I dislike anybody on this board. Quite frankly, I don't think that there are many people on this board, excuse me, I don't think that there are many people on this board that would say, I think they're my best friend. I don't hang out. I don't. I disagree with people and I move along. I have disagreed with the entire board. I have disagreed with individuals. But my questions are, hey, what are we doing? What does that look like? What is the process? Where's the information? Is it research? Is it just a program? It is research because if I'm on the campus of Eastern Illinois University and I see a display giving information about the program, that means there's data collected. Well, where's the data? Well, why don't we have it? That's a reasonable question. And a syllabus, we require that syllabi are shown on our website for all of our classes for parents to know. I didn't ask for the syllabus, but I did ask for the information. What are we doing? Do we have a contract? Well, there's a contract. Well, did we vote on it? We actually didn't. Who signed the contract? Who gave permission? We cannot say that we want transparency and accountability for everything except for Bionic. And let me be very clear. Both of my daughters were in Bionic. I actually spoke for Bionic during their summer training program. That does not mean that I don't ask questions. That does not mean that I have to agree. And if we ask questions where we are spending money, that is responsible. I believe you said that several times. So let me be very clear. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. We get recommendations from EIU on the counseling interns because they're called counseling, but then they work in Bionic. That's not clear to me. How do we get them? I said, do we interview them? And I was told no. Dr. Larson sends their names over. Wonderful. So does Eastern interview them? Actually, no. Dr. Larson interviews them with one of her graduate assistants. Oh, okay. So then what's the process? And actually, my question initiated because the first time that you had the opportunity to vote as to whether or not we would hire those interns, you didn't abstain. And I thought that was an issue. So I did inquire. And as a board member, as you know, we can ask questions. And I still don't have the information. I don't have it. The board doesn't have it. The district doesn't have it. And there's no clarity. No clarity. Are they counseling interns or are they Bionic interns? Do you collect information? And I believe I asked you about that in the board meeting. Do you go and present? You said we present all over the state. I said, great. Can we get the information? We still don't have it. Whether you give it to us for 1 year, 2 years, or more, I said to you, we know that research does not take 10 years. In fact, as an academic, 3 to 5 years. After 3 to 5 years, you should have findings and recommendations. Anyone who does research knows that. If you don't have it after 5 years as a graduate student, guess what? You have to start all the way over. You don't get to walk out of there in 6 and 7 years unless you get permission to do so. 3 to 5 years. It's been 10, 11. I had a question. So yeah, more questions came because I never got an answer. I never got an answer. I didn't accuse her of doing anything wrong. I had questions. I don't want a speech. I want the information. Just like you're saying, be responsible. Responsibility is if you ask a question as it relates to this district and the district's business, then you should get the answer. I don't care about a Facebook video. That's not my business. I don't care. I don't care if it bothers her that I'm asking. I don't. It is information involving students. And to be very clear, if there is research being conducted on minors, not just human subjects, but minors, you have to have informed consent. So either you have it or you don't. Either it's research or it's not. Either they're counseling interns or they're bionic interns, or they're both. If that's the case, then just say it. But you don't have to make this a whole issue. No one, it's not just because it's you. It's because the program, I had a question and I still don't have an answer. I have disagreed with every person on this board. When we voted about the sexual education, I said, I disagree with everyone. In fact, I was the only one that voted in the opposite direction. No one took it personal. We moved on. I didn't come in and say, I can't believe they're doing this to me. I had a question. I had a question, and either you can answer it or not. And you told us to ask Easter. That is what they did. I did not sign on to an email. We did not send a hard copy letter. We followed your lead, and the district requested the information. And I still don't have it. And guess what? I'm going to keep asking. You said that we've been doing this for months and years. And Heidi, if you thought it was personal, I have no idea why you would bring your graduate students in here to stand in that line. That wasn't their class time. It couldn't be their class time because you're in a board meeting. So I know that you don't schedule your classes then, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, but did you bring your interns in here? Did you bring your graduate students into our meeting to present to us?
Yes.
Okay, was that
So
your
that you
class
can
time?
ask all these questions you had, and you know what?
I don't want to ask
You
your
didn't
students.
ask
That's
one
not
of them.
fair to your students. I asked you.
You didn't ask a question, and you know who
We
runs the
asked
program?
you for the
All five of them.
information. Excuse
They
me.
run
We
the program.
requested,
They didn't answer
excuse
any
me.
question.
We requested the information and you did not give it to us. Instead, you brought your students in here and that was not fair to them. That is inappropriate. And they should not be here because we didn't require them to be here as a board. And that is not your class time. You brought them in on your own decision. But you could have just given us the information. I didn't want the anecdotal stuff that they read that you probably wrote because they all said the same thing. That was horrible for them. It was inconsiderate for them. And I'm glad it's entertaining for you, but just give us the information.
For 15 minutes.
Feeling is how a lot of us as parents feel.
You
We
spoke.
keep asking questions and not getting answers.
Okay, can we practice, please? You spoke for 15 minutes. Okay, all right, we're moving on. We have nothing substantive under item 7, nor 8, 9 new business board committees.
So I asked you, Dale, about the board committees, that if we are going to have an email that we could sign up for committees, and you said that our committees are 2 years.
That wasn't what your email was. Your email said, hey, did I miss an email from you about board committees for this year?
Correct.
Well, that's not what you said.
Okay.
I responded that board committee appointments are for 2 years. So
Where is
the
that?
current assignments that's the way it's always been done to my knowledge. Okay. I also think that's wise because if you're not an academic expert, 2 years of getting through these meetings gives you an opportunity to become comfortable with the information that's being given. I sent a follow-up to you about that. You did not respond.
Correct. And my question is that it's not been a 2 year. So I've had different committees for the 3, so I had committees when I first got on the board, then Michigan.
No, how many committees have you had since last April? How many new committees? Because that's when the term started. It's a 2-year term. It starts after the April election. So-
Can you tell me where that's written down? Like, is it, it's not an SOP, so how?
That was in an email that went out to all the board members after the April election.
So at every election cycle, we're either 3 members or
Right.
4
I
members
mean,
are up
it's
on an
not
election cycle, and then
So you're saying that the committees are every 2 years, and I'm saying that hasn't been my experience. That when I first got on the board, I took Colleen's, right,
Okay.
Gardner, and then Michelle gave us committees the next year.
Okay.
Okay, and then you came on and you had committees.
Okay.
Okay, so my understanding is that we would have committees. I haven't heard that they're a 2-year cycle.
Okay.
And then coupled with that,
Why didn't you just respond to my email? and say
because
that?
Dale, I'm busy. I'm sorry I didn't respond to
Okay.
your email that,
I'm
I
just
wanted,
asking.
I
I'm
wanted
just
to have a
asking. I'm just
conversation.
Just
Okay,
asking.
I wanted
I
to
mean,
have a
we could have had this
conversation.
conversation and rather than sit here at 10, 5 after 10 with still work to do and have this debate. You could have just asked if you'd responded to my email.
Well, I don't think it's every 2 years. I want to know where
Okay.
that's documented. And I
Okay.
want to know where that is.
Dale,
Okay.
Dale, it may be beneficial. So it has typically been for 2 years. There have been changes. So where someone has left the board and a new person has been appointed, then we have revisited that. Because we've had people leave during the tenure that you've been here, Heidi, that's why we've had some switches. But generally, it has been every 2 years, just as election of officers is every 2 years, except we accommodate when there's been a change in the dynamic. So where we've had a new board member, then Michelle at that time would give the opportunity for us to revisit the committees. But it has always been every 2 years.
So the fact that we have Jake on the board, we're not going to look at that. Like, so when there's a shift on the board, we just.
He assumed,
Michelle did
He-
that. I don't know if Dale is gonna do it that way.
he
but I'm just-
assumed the committee assignments that Gary had. That's item 9. We are now on agenda item 10. We are going to executive session to discuss 3 separate subjects. One is to discuss matters pertaining to school safety and security plans. The second is to discuss matters pertaining to student discipline. The third is to discuss matters pertaining to the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. There is no substantive business on the agenda after the conclusion of the executive session. So when we return from the executive session, the only thing we will do is entertain a motion to adjourn, and we will adjourn the meeting. Dale?
Can I say something? I just want to say, there's a lot, I appreciate Heidi's questions to this board. She comes here and asks questions about LIFT and asks questions about academics, and she asks questions about what we're doing as a district. And I very much appreciate that. And I just hope that, because we are the board, we should all be asking questions like that. We should all be saying, what are we spending? Are we fiscally responsible? Are we serving our students who need help with reading and math? Like, we should be all asking those questions. And I just hope that none of this is becoming punitive or, that the disagreements, we are going to disagree on a lot of things, or the way to get to that thing. But I don't like I don't want things to be done punitively if someone does come forth and ask questions and want clarification on things.
Carol, thank you.
Okay,
I
motion.
will entertain a motion to retire to executive session to discuss the 3 matters I outlined earlier.
Motion.
Motion from Erica Weaver, second from, what's her name? Mrs. Overton. And the roll there, Miss, whoever you are.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. Overton?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Uphoff?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, we are.
Okay.